Happy Friday night live, Law Nerds. It's so good to be here. I am so excited tonight that not only do we get to talk about like a legally adjacent topic, but I get to bring in a dear friend of mine, actor Scott Whyte. He has been in, probably I would say most well known. Well, most well known in my mind for things like City Guys and Mighty Ducks. There was also a rogue Slim Jims commercial that was fantastic, a Poptarts commercial that I love. He's also done tons of voice acting, music, all the things. So tonight, as we get into SAG-AFTRA, the Actors Union, opening their doors to influencers from TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, we're going to actually have a real actor to ask these questions to. And I could get into his resume forever, but I'd rather just have him share that with you. We're going to get into the topics, then answer your questions. If you're catching this on the replay, you can look down below for the timestamps when we talk about different things, because I know that you're excited to have Scott here. I am too. So you guys, it's Friday. I hope you're drinking something. I hope you've got it with you. We need to just get into this. So let's get into it. Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the cursey words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery.
Hello. Oh, no. Are we having it? Oh, there we go. Are you on mute? Can everyone hear me? I think, Emily, you were muted. Unless that's me. Okay, you can hear me. Emily, I can't hear you. Oh, no, what's going on? I'm the worst professional ever. Hi, everyone. Hope everything's going good. I am here in my booth in Manhattan Beach, and it is Friday night, and I'm here with Emily. And I just wanted to make sure everyone has a drink before we get into this, because this is going to be fantastic. Are you, Emily? Hey there, law nerds. Emily, you're still muted. Is it just me? Okay, I'm gonna just keep talking until Emily gets the muties figured out. Okay, so tonight I'm just going to go into my spiel. I'm going to take over the show.
Go ahead.
Emily,
we're throwing it to Scott.
It's been
Good
fun.
Lord, I
It's
have
been a fun
never
show,
had
Emily.
a stream crash so hard. It's not letting me be great this evening, and I am so
Do you know how much
sorry.
I just panicked? I almost drank the top
I'm
bottle.
sure. You're like, I'm live. I don't know what to do. Help!
The worst thing is going live and not. I did a radio show once. I mean,
Sorry,
I did a
guys.
feed.
The law nerds are totally chill. They're very.
Oh, thank you.
The law nerds are very welcoming.
I was told
they're
to
very
talk
welcoming
in my heart.
Oh, y'all. Sorry.
Sorry about that, everyone.
We're
Happy
dealing
Friday.
with, I don't know, technical issues.
It's Friday.
Happy Friday. Won't let me be great. Y'all, say hi to Scott. Scott, will you tell them a little bit about your background while I make sure that everything's working on my end? I promise I won't abandon you in this stream.
Please don't. We have history. My name is Scott Whyte. I'm a actor and voice actor. I started off acting when I was about 10 years old. I had always dreamed of being in movies and doing voices and playing ice hockey. And those were my three kind of passion, and drawing. I was always drawing. And so I started off in acting classes. It took 9 months. My folks were not business. They weren't the standard, child actor parents who were forcing their kids into the business at the time. I begged my folks for quite a few months before they allowed me into an acting class, because they would drive me out to Van Nuys. And Emily, as you know, Van Nuys to Manhattan Beach area, South Bay that's a big commitment to do once a week. And at 10 years old, for a child to just be saying, I want to act, and that's all I want in life. And just that rude too. I was just like, I want to act, God damn it. But I finally became an actor because I was going to classes. And then cut to about 4 years later or so, I booked my first. I was watching the Mighty Ducks movies in theaters. I was like, that's a dream job. And 2 weeks later, I was auditioning for Ducks 2. And that sort of kicked me off this long journey. And I'm now 87,000 years old with my and it's been a fun ride, and we're still going. So yeah, and I'm coming to you from my 4x6 booth that I work out of every day here. And I have my little pit bull, Andy, who's down here, who's busy sleeping. But that's my little pit bull. He's in every session with me that I work now, that I get to work from home with all the weirdness going on. So that's a rant. That is a long rant. And how is everyone else doing out there on a Friday night? You guys all doing fantastic? I hope so. What drinks do we have? Can we throw up in the comments what drinks we're going with? Because I have here a bottle of water, fire water, and that's what I'm going to be filling my cup with. Emily, are you? Let's go to AccuWeather with Emily, who's having a drink. Emily, can we discuss what drink you're having, or is the audio back up for you? No. Okay. Don't worry. I got this. I am your favorite backup lawyer who knows nothing about law. I am Scott Whyte. Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. How long? Okay, I'm going to take some questions here. How long have you been in SAG? Okay. I have been in SAG since Mighty Ducks. My first acting job was when a Poptarts commercial, when I was my first Poptarts commercial, I was 14. Yeah, that was the first job. And that got me into SAG at the time, which at the time cost $950 to become a member.
And now a lot more now.
Yeah, I think I don't even know what the rate is. It like 3,000?
It's like 3,000, and then 1% of what you make up to 500K or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was sweating just then, Emily. I was almost going to take over your gig. I was like, let's talk about the trials.
I appreciate you so much. I have never had sound issues like this, but we're professionals here. Everybody's like, the stream is so chill. The law nerds, you'd be in good hands. They would just ask you questions nonstop, and you would see them. I loved it.
Yeah, I've seen questions come in. Everyone's really cool. This is like so neat. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So I don't know what's going on with my stream, but it is. And you're like, we've dealt with stuff. I'm sure you've dealt with stuff going wild on set before. There's just no PAs running around here going insane.
Yeah, which is strange. I'm used to people panicking and running through my sight lines,
Yes, no panicking, which would be hard, having people running through your sight lines and still trying to stay in the moment of what you're doing.
Yeah. It's fun. I get to work on the Howard Stern show every once in a while. I do some of their impressions and voices, and one of the big ones is I do George Jr., who's sort of president of the United States once, and man, the technical stuff to get that going, and waiting on the line and getting to hear all the back and forth, it's a lot of work. So I mean, first off, I want to give you a cheers, and I want to praise you. I've known you forever.
How old were we when we met? Were we 11 or 12?
I was going to say probably 11 years old.
Probably 11.
With our friend Tracy, who lived across the street from me and who was one of your besties.
One of my besties. And, still one of my besties.
And I was talking to you today with my good friend Steve Combs, who I'm sure would say hi, but we were all...
Steve.
Yeah, Steve. But we were all just talking about old times and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be on her show. She's amazing. I sent him your TED Talk, which... Look, I just want to say, first off, that was such a great TED Talk.
Thank you, Scott.
And just everything that I didn't know, all this, because we lost contact there for a little while.
Well, you were filming City Guys while I was like playing water polo and then occasionally catching City Guys when I woke up early enough on the weekend.
That was always hey, Scott, I was hungover.
Yep.
And whose face comes on the TV?
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
My college experience.
So cheers to you, all your successes. You deserve the best, and you're amazing. You've always been amazing to me, and you're just awesome.
Same. You've always been amazing. amazing. We've always had so much fun.
Yeah.
And we've always just had a really good time. And I think you were the
Cheers,
person I
Mama.
probably cheers. Yes, drink,
Mm.
drink, drink. I think you were probably the person I spent the most time with at our last reunion too, because we had such a great chat
Yeah.
about all of the things, and then we got crashed by like the class of '95 and people from Gundo and all the
We
things.
did, didn't we? And I kind of crashed that party. I didn't pay for that. I
Good.
just sort of walked in, and one of the parents had their back turned, and I just went right in.
Like I totally belong here. It was
Yeah.
Casey's dad. Don't even worry about it.
As an actor, you figure out ways to just sneak into anything.
Sneak
you know,
into
even
parties.
like
You're like,
behind
I belong
camera.
here.
Yeah, totally parties or anything. Yeah.
You were like, hey, Scott.
This is I'm so looking forward to this, all these discussions and whatever anyone has. But yes, to answer your question, I don't mind. I am 24 years old now.
Yes.
No, I'm 43, and
We're wise. We're wise in our years.
we are wise and awesome in our years. And
Did you ever
14
think
years
that-
old, I think I joined SAG at 14. So
At 14. So you joined SAG with Poptarts or with Slim Jims or
Poptarts.
with Mighty Ducks?
Yeah, Poptarts. So, but Poptarts was the very first job that I booked. It was a commercial that took 2 days to shoot, which a commercial you usually run and gun. You knock it out in one day and you're done. But this was the director of Tron,
Yes.
the original Tron, and we were on this huge sound stage for 2 days with a huge green screen. It was this giant flying toaster that came down to earth. And, in the spot, I have it up on my YouTube page.
You shared it did you share it on your YouTube channel?
On my Instagram and YouTube, yeah.
I'm going to pull it up.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
pull it up, but keep sharing
It'll be up
about
there.
it.
Yeah.
We're gonna pull it up.
So this was my agent, as a lot of agents did back in that day. They would lie and say, "Oh, of course he's SAG." What it comes down to is a little bit of extra paperwork the production needs to fill out to get someone Taft-Hartley'd, which basically means like you're eligible to be in SAG. But because I was the lead in the commercial, I don't know all the rules now, but it used to be if your face is on camera for more than 8 seconds, you're considered a lead, and all these rules. So I was the lead in the commercial, and with a giant toaster that heated up my Pop-Tart and flew back into space. And
I'm looking for it on your YouTube channel.
Oh, okay,
right
great.
now.
But yeah, as a beginning actor who had no experience being on set or anything, to now be on a huge green screen, like now it's every project's on a giant green screen. You see it in Star Wars behind the scenes stuff and everything.
Right, but it wasn't back in the day.
It wasn't back then. And it was all shot on film, so they had to keep changing reels. And it was like there's a sticker on the wall. That's a giant flying toaster. And you're kind of scared, but you're also into it. And, and as a kid, 14 years old, I was just lucky that I had a great imagination from playing with toys my whole life and doing all these voices of the characters, and which got me made fun of, saying, "Oh, you're such a toy boy," and everything. But I was playing with toys till I was like 13 or 14. Little did I realize I was training myself.
And now you get to be video game characters and live your best life.
And now I voice the Transformer characters that I played with when I was a kid. It's amazing.
And everyone you went to high school with, as our kids were growing up and were starting to watch things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it was like, wait a second, why does that sound like Scott?
Yeah, it's really amazing. It really is. I'm so lucky that I've now been able to voice like Leonardo from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've been able to voice Starscream, and the hardest stuff is in the original cartoon, like Cobra Commander, these characters. This one actor, he had this voice that was very much, like a really aggressive. And I dreamed forever. I was like, if I could ever, his name was Chris Latta. And I said, if I ever could book a Chris Latta like voice match on it. So here I am years later. I'm now cast as the voice of Starscream for a huge Transformers project. And they need the original voice to sound like, and that's one of my aspects of my business, to sound like these celebrities. So I booked the job. About 10 minutes into the job, my voice is now going hoarse, and my mind is just going, I don't ever want this voice match again. I don't want to ever do a Chris Latta voice match.
Don't hire me back. This hurts.
Yeah. And it was 4 more sessions of 4 hours and screaming and losing my voice, having to go to the ENT, getting a shot of, steroids to get my voice back up so I could finish the last session. Wow. I mean, it's I'm not one of these actors that says it's the hardest thing ever, and it's not in that respect.
There are things that are challenging.
Yeah. There's
just
a lot
like
of
any creative profession.
Yeah, there's a lot. And then when you're yelling in video games, you're yelling grenade and scream and, screaming in these Call of Duty games. And then tomorrow you have to do a commercial for ZipRecruiter and you need your full voice back. And that's where the panic kind of can set in and get a little worrisome. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when your entire stream freezes when you have a guest on Instagram, which you rarely do.
And then you leave it to them, who is clueless.
Thousands of law nerds watching. It's so fun. I found this not on YouTube, but I found your commercial for Poptarts on Instagram, because you put it on your Instagram. Thank you for putting it on Instagram.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna pull it up, and we're gonna just share it with the law nerds, and then we're gonna go in and talk about SAG a little bit, because I did not see this on the YouTubes. So I'm gonna turn my volume up so that the law nerds can hear it, but they will get to see what you were talking about with your first job.
Awesome.
Oh, and of course, I don't have the sound on. Sorry. There we
go. Yeah, Kellogg's Pop-Tarts. You're kidding. A complete breakfast?
Wow. And
fantastic, right?
I was a young, innocent child, and now I'm like looking like I'm like a Jeff Bridges stunt double.
You could, I keep hitting the wrong thing. Sorry about that. You could absolutely play Qui-Gon Jinn.
I'm
ready for it.
I'm sort of going for a Qui-Gon Jinn. I don't know. Yeah, I got the pony. It's like the half ponytail. It really is the half ponytail. So
you are ready to be a Jedi. You were made to be a Jedi.
May the Force be with you. Yes.
Did you share with the law nerds, well, I had absolutely no sound, why you decided to become an actor?
No, I did not. But the original story, I was drawing. I originally went back to getting into horror films when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I was scared, equally scared by Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th as I was amazed at like the effects and how they'd rip someone's head off and stuff. So at like 9 years old, I got a subscription to this Fangoria horror magazine, and they would have.
Your parents are so cool.
My parents, and you know them, they're the best. They always support. I talked to my mom last night about this. I was like, she was saying, you've had great success and stuff. And I said, it's because of you guys. You guys always allowed me. You never questioned me when we would go to the local store and I'd want to wear a cape or a Batman costume at the local store at 10 years old. They were always so supportive. So they got me this horror film magazine subscription. And I think because it helped break down, I got to understand how horror films are made, so it wasn't as scary. And then I got into special effects. And then I went to this Weekend of Horrors convention over by LAX airport. And I met one of the writers of one of the Friday the 13th films, who told me about this acting class out in Van Nuys, Young Actor Space.
Everything in Van Nuys.
Everything's in Van Nuys. And back then, there was only like 1 or 2 real acting classes that everyone went to. I mean, Tobey Maguire was in one of my classes. This kid, Edward Snowden. No.
A whole different conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of, I think Leonardo DiCaprio went. It was like if you were just a kid actor in LA, at one point you went to Young Actor Space. It was that. That was
something, where we grew up, that we had people taking time off of school to do jobs all the time. And somebody would come back and I'd be like, where were you? And they were like, oh, LA law for 3 days. And it's like, oh, of course you were.
yeah, of course. It's just what you do, I guess. I don't know. And my poor parents had to like drive me out there every week and just sit in the car for 3 hours. It was like an hour and a half there, 3 hours of a class or 3.5, and then an hour back. I mean, it was a huge commitment. So I know why they were hesitant, but I knew what I wanted to do. And it was because of those horror films I found out about the class. But I had always, since Indiana Jones, when I was 4 years old, I was running around. You probably know the story of me breaking my wrist, swinging from the tree at the top of the hill, thinking I was Indiana Jones.
And I know the tree.
Every time I see that tree, trust me, I'm like, you motherfucker. I know you use the curses.
Like we've known each other that long that it's like, no, I've been to your parents' house. Like I'm sure if your folks are watching, my folks are watching, they're like, this is weird watching our adult children just giggle about work.
Tell me about it. I mean, we're not kids. We are kids still, but we're not kids anymore, I guess, young at heart.
Too gray to still be a kid, but wise enough to get to have fun chats like this.
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, you've loved film, and it's so interesting now watching kids growing up, because the people my kids are emulating are YouTubers. For better or for worse. It's not acting anymore. It's social media influence is really what kids are looking up to. It's like, oh my God, Technoblade's so much better than Dream. I'm like, what is this conversation you're having right now? I have no idea. And Mike, my kids aren't repeating movie lines and commercial lines. They're repeating taglines from their favorite YouTubers. And
Amazing.
it's a different world, which actually segues into our topic
Yeah.
of blending the two worlds of traditional acting and social media influence. And being a lawyer, I tend to take a more cynical view of things often. And I don't know if this is SAG trying to actually bring collective bargaining. And I should just share, SAG-AFTRA is the actors union. They do collective bargaining, workplace standards, healthcare, and things like that. SAG also provides like working regulations and limits and like day rates, how much you get paid to do certain things.
Yeah.
Any more that you can fill in about what SAG does other than the SAG awards that people might be familiar with?
Yeah. I SAG has always sort of just been, they've sort of had our back, and a lot what you said, they just kind of set the rules that we need, that producers, both sides need to follow, there's rules for actors to not overstep their boundaries, just like there's rules for producers not to overstep their boundaries and take advantage of acters.
Yep.
But mainly, the things as an actor, when you get on set, health and safety, what you said, I have a story of a Val Kilmer movie I worked on. First shot out the gate of the film, they put us on cold horses, which means like we hadn't warmed up to them. We didn't get to know the horses. And they said, hey, full gallop. Let's just go across this countryside.
Oh,
with
God.
huge rocks and boulders. They didn't tie down my horse, my stirrup, my saddle tight enough. So we're going, and I just start slowly going off this way, full gallop.
That's terrifying.
And I took a roll off that. Yes, it was terrible. It was terrifying. And I took a roll and I landed and tumbled. Luckily, I missed these huge boulders that are everywhere in the ground, and I didn't hit any of them. Walked back, completely shook up. I just remember kind of going, there goes my life. And I got up and I was just shaking. And this is the end of me. And so walked back to my trailer as I just heard everyone going, are you okay? Are you okay? And I just immediately got on the phone and called the SAG, safety line saying, hey, just did a shot and I've fallen off the horse, and I really just did that just to collect myself and like, oh, this is, but next day there were SAG people on set. It turned out it was partially, it was no one's real. The horse can take this breath and let this air out. And I guess they tightened it. The horse released his breath and it became loose and no one knew. So, and at the end of the day, I was back on set 10 minutes later shooting the same shot again. So, and we didn't have any problems. Things just happen. But yes, SAG follows, they set up rules. They help actors set up, you can get the health and retirement funds if you make enough money. So it's really great. There's a lot of great things about SAG. And some people have problems with SAG and things like that. But, everyone at the end of the day, we're all trying our best. And I like to believe that SAG has our best. But as the world changes and as influencers, for instance, come along, people need to adapt. And sometimes SAG, and I know people at SAG that are like, yeah, we're trying to get people to change their ways. So there are adjustments that need to get made. And I think this whole thing about the influencers thing is very interesting because it is the new way. I mean,
it is. And I wonder if SAG, like, part of me wonders, okay, yes, there's a need. There's a need for influencers to have some kind of standards. There are no standards in rates for commercial. There's no standards, and nobody knows, because what you used to have in Hollywood is if you were going to book something, you would generally book through your agent. Your agent would know what going rates are for somebody within kind of whatever class you fall in of actor, whatever work you're doing. So your agent would kind of have this overall idea of where things fall, what fair rates are, what fair day, like hours of work and things like that are. But now you have influencers negotiating directly with brands. So there's no knowledge of what's a fair rate for a brand, what's a going rate. And the same on YouTube. How much are different channels making for the same amount of views for advertisements essentially that they're placing. So I think SAG might bring some more knowledge to influencers of these are kind of our going rates. But also SAG is looking at maybe this is where the money's being made. And if we're now going to look at like a Jennifer Aniston getting a commercial for water, or going to a Charlie D'Amelio for that same water, who's a, TikToker with 100 million followers, you've got a D'Amelio that might be able to now undercut like an Aniston rate because it's a different audience and there's nothing involved. So I wonder if SAG is trying to stabilize rates across when it comes to working with big companies, or if it's, hey, let's help and make sure that influencers are protected, because influencers often don't have businesses set up. They aren't set up to work professionally. They're making a lot of money, but it can happen very fast.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's all really good points, Emily. I think it's a little bit of everything. I think SAG, you know, I think to say that SAG isn't also trying to dip into that cup and get their money or secure, you know, of course, and that's fine. But with that comes the support that SAG has, or to create a standard of how it should be, you know, to help more of the underdog influencers, because I'm sure a Kim Kardashian, rightfully so, should and would get more money than someone who has 2 million, you know, like more of a startup kind of influence. So the question becomes, how do you really regulate that? Because SAG has a tendency to say, hey, this is the rules. Here's scale. Here's what we do. This is the price. These are the hours. That's that. You know, but then you have people that are beyond that now, which is another interesting subject. How I think I mentioned this, how, you know, like Sylvester Stallone is now on YouTube and has 47,000 followers, whereas you have double that. You know, in theory,
and
you're
I'm
more
a small
popular.
channel.
And I seem to tend to click on your videos more than Sylvester Stallone. You know, it's just it's an amazing shift that's happened over the years, and I find it so fascinating. I talk about it all the time, because pre-internet, pre-social media, you couldn't touch those Arnold Schwarzeneggers and stuff, and they're getting 10 million a movie, and they're like untouchable. They're gods, and now the gods can't even get a like on their Instagram page, because
they go live on Instagram and it's crickets, because it's not this, the world has changed and people don't always want accessibility. We were talking about this with actors. It's being, I think, a personality and being an actor are two very different skills. I don't think I could lose myself in a role the way somebody like Reese Witherspoon would. And she's a terrible example, because she's also a really fun personality to listen talk. Who can I pick on instead? Kristen Stewart. Kristen Stewart doesn't strike me as someone I maybe would sit down and have a conversation and a meal with, but she does lose herself in her characters, and you can kind of lose the actress and see the character. I don't think I could. That's not a skill that I have. So now there's this different skill set, but I feel like traditional actors are almost getting pushed into this influencer sphere to try to keep up with it.
Yeah, especially with the last year and everything that's happened, you know, where there is no work. You know, SAG does have this wound in their side right now, because a year of no TV, no making movies, TV, of course, that's going to hit their bottom line. That's going to hit our bottom line. We've seen shifts in their health, you know, their pensions, and, you know, you normally have to make this much money to be able to get one of two tiers of health. And last year, SAG said, nope, we're changing this almost overnight. It's now just, you have to make this much. We only have one plan. There's no longer two plans. So you have to make more money to get to the one plan. But these are just effects of what's going on with the world. And there's no money coming in if there's no actors that are working to pay for the funds. So lucky for us as voice actors, we've been kind of holding the fort down and saving the union in a way.
Save the universe.
It kind of is. Us voice actors will save the universe. But yes, it very much is. It is that sort of, we are the only kind of working people, and news reporters and things, you know, and
housewives. The housewives have all found ways to film. Reality TV has found
reality
ways
TV.
I don't know if they're union though.
I don't know what is and isn't anymore, but I remember when we were doing City Guys and the first reality TV shows, you know, I think it started with like The Real World, you know, but then network TV started taking these shows on. And I remember sitting there with the City Guys cast, and we were all just kind of chuckling, like, enjoy that fad for 3 months. And then
it's hard to be an actor. Y'all living in a fucking house, sure.
And then all the primetime shows started getting canceled or replaced by reality shows, and now the joke was on us. You know,
by the time Jersey Shore came around, y'all were like, "We get it, you guys, we get it."
By the time Jersey Shore came around, I was dyeing my hair, doing ab crunches, working on my Jersey X. I'm like, "Hey, forget about it. I'm gonna do this.
We'll get juicy.
Get me on a show like this." But so getting back to on point, I sort of branch off easy. But I think that SAG,
Scott, you and me both.
Yeah. I cut from the same. Yeah, something in the water in the South Bay growing up, I feel. But SAG, I think they're coming from a good place, and I think you know, whether or not they want to get involved or whatever for their own financial benefits, I think that their heart is in a good place, and they're trying to take entertainment. You know, they're trying to take entertainment and look out for all of us. And
And
that's
entertainment's shifting.
and entertainment is shifting. What is entertainment? You know, I mean, like, yes, everyone's watching an Instagram view will get more watches than any Marvel film ever. You know, it's like, how do you solve these problems?
I think
right
Baby
now?
Shark on YouTube probably has more views than most movies ever does because it has, what, 1 billion views or something? We had a super chat come in that I want to get before I pull up the SAG agreement just to talk about it real quick, and then we're just going to talk acting and life and fun things.
Great.
Shaw says, Scott, I met Val Kilmer on the set of The Island of Dr. Moreau, which was filmed in Queensland, Australia.
Very
Shaw,
cool.
that is very, very cool. And we will get to questions in just a minute. I'm going to pull up a little bit of this. Not legal advice, you guys. We're not telling you if you are in the influencer sphere, the actor sphere, that you should or should not join SAG. It's something that you can do. My mother says hello, watching on YouTube on the TV. How tech are we? Good job, Mom.
Yeah, Mom. Big hugs. I miss you guys. Can I just quickly bring up the fact that when we went to the big movie,
absolutely, you can bring up the fact that we went on a date.
We went on a date at, I think, 13 years old or whatever it was. I didn't even know what a date was. It was a date. Okay, a boy and a girl go out.
We went and hung out.
My mom drove us. We both sat in the back seat. We watched.
We went to the theater in Hermosa, didn't we?
Yes, exactly the same theater, AMC there, where I saw the Mighty Ducks 2, where then I was like, this is what I
saw
want.
Mighty Ducks at that theater as well.
Did you go up the elevator? You remember the elevator to get up? It was so exciting. It was like, we're going to the movies.
How long's it been since you've been to a movie?
Oh, forget it. I don't even know the last one I went to.
I know, I don't either. I didn't realize it was going to be so significant.
Yeah, it's strange, you know. It's really it's weird to not have these outlets right now. To be honest.
Anyway, we went to see Far and Away.
We went to see Far and Away with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, their first big film. I just remember the movie wasn't that great.
It wasn't that great.
And then my mom picked us up, went home. That was a 13-year-old date. Yeah, probably hung out the next day with Tracy and just kind of sat around and just laughed and goofed off, climbed trees or whatever we were doing.
Yeah. And then what year did you come back to Costa? Because you were at private school.
Yeah.
Before you transferred back to our high school.
Yeah. So I went to a Jesuit all boys, the Catholic school, and I hated it, to be honest.
You're not quite the dudes that go to Loyola.
Yeah, I don't fit in anywhere.
A little more creative.
Yeah, but I think it was mainly all my good friends and everything, and you included, Tracy included. You know, everyone I kind of hung out with, my circle, all went to Costa, and then like my other. The other kids went to Loyola, the ones that were determined to do something with their life.
I mean, that's totally fair.
Yeah. Hey, it was a great education. What I learned in that first year, let's say in Spanish class, carried me through the next 3 years of Americosta.
All you need.
Yeah, totally. I know. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca, Maria?
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. But it sounds great, and I use it in sessions. Believe me. But yeah, I booked the Mighty Ducks 2. I went and I worked that film. And actually, what happened was Loyola wrote my family letters because I needed to miss 3 weeks or something, and they said, "Well, you need to choose between doing this Disney film or going to our prestigious Loyola school." And I was already out the door.
Hi.
I'm doing a film, and I get to come back to my favorite friends in my favorite school.
Goodbye.
Yes, please. I mean,
because you had booked, so you booked Poptarts.
Poptarts, yeah.
And then did you book Mighty Ducks after Poptarts?
Poptarts, yes, yeah, that was my second, and it was I don't think there was a big gap between shooting that and jumping into. I mean, my hair grew out, so it must have been 9 months within a year. I would say I had booked the Mighty Ducks also from doing that commercial. So, but it was 4 years. It very much was. I was lucky. I was so lucky. I had my acting teacher who became my manager, who helped me get an agent, who helped me get my jobs. I was sort of like walked in holding hands with someone who knew everything, So when people ask me, how do you get into acting? How do you get an agent? I don't really know because, again, I was in this position where someone said, "Hey, I like you. Just come with me this way." And, and you're like, okay. Oh, I was like, cool. I just want to have fun. I didn't think about money. I just wanted to have fun. I mean, to me, I was like, hey, cool. Can I play a space alien? No. And now as a voice actor, I could play space aliens, monsters, any type of anything I could think of, I get to voice. So, but yeah, Mighty Ducks was second, jumped off of that. And I think I immediately booked the Slim Jim's commercial.
The Slim Jim commercial. We'll pull it up in a minute. I'm going to pull up the SAG thing, but I remember us talking when you were on set of Mighty Ducks on the phone at least once or twice, and getting to chat about that and about what it was like. Did you ever expect that Mighty Ducks would pop off like it is? Hello, bestie, Adam McIntyre. Adam McIntyre is a fantastic creator over here on the YouTubes. It's so good to see you.
Fantastic. Yeah, baby.
But did you ever imagine that is it what you're recognized most for, Mighty Ducks, or is it City Guys?
Yeah, I would say Mighty Ducks for the most, just because throughout the longest time people still recognize me looking as old as I do now, but people still say, "Oh, Gunnar from Mighty Ducks." Okay. Why? Thank you. But it's funny, there's a whole new lately, especially on Instagram now, and getting to connect with so many people. I try to write everyone back that I can.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time in the day. But there's a whole new slew of like younger people, and I know there's a group of them watching right now because they were writing me saying, "Hey, we're gonna tune in." So quack
and stuff. My kids have been able to get into the franchises that I enjoyed as a kid. So my kids get dragged along with everything I loved growing up, and they love the Mighty Ducks movies. Hold up, my kids love those movies because they're a good message. They're good movies. They're a great underdog story. Yeah. You get the slow clap moment.
Totally.
All of it. So
it's all the emotions wrapped in, people pass away. There's the sadness. You get the hockey puck at the end, like, oh, what happened? The bad guys turn out to be the nice guys, which can happen sometimes too. I'm sure Darth Vader was a nice guy. He just, he was
adorable as Anakin.
Yeah, he was a good guy. He just, hey, come on, his wife got killed. He just loved her and wanted her back, and that's what happens sometimes. You go to the dark side.
Yeah, or men are over possessive, resulting in women dying. I mean, one of the two.
One of the two. I'm definitely not trying to defend anyone.
I'm teasing you. I'm totally teasing you. But did you imagine that in your 40s, when you got Mighty Ducks, I'm sure just knowing you at that age, that it was like, wait, I get to act and skate. Sweet. I get to do both. Awesome. I'm in. Did you ever imagine that it would still be something that you're talking about in your career in your 40s?
Not at all. Not at all. But to the other side of that, I am so more than happy to discuss any of it because it was the springboard that has still carried me. I book voice jobs. I walk in the studio and they go, "Hey, just wanted to meet Gunnar Stahl." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And I just wanted a paycheck, or whatever,
Thank you.
But it all works both ways. It's the ebb and flow of the business. But yes, I mean, like I never thought all these years later, because I was so consumed in just being young and having fun at that time. And I was the only kid that had played hockey for 4 years before. I had played hockey before the movies came about. All the other actors went through this 6 weeks of training camp, as I did. But in that 6 weeks, they were as good as I was after 4 years of playing in a league and stuff somehow. So, credit and kudos to them. But yeah, I was just having a good time. And I wasn't thinking about the money. I wasn't thinking about a career. I wasn't thinking about networking or all the things I know now and I utilize now to maintain and build my career even more. Yep. I had all these great people that I just kind of went, "Hey, nice to meet you. Cool. Oh, Tron, I saw that movie. Have a good one." Never stayed in touch with anyone. Never,
And there wasn't, it's not, what are you going to do? Facebook people? Are you going to write? I mean, there was nothing. What are you going to do? Write them and put a stamp on it? I mean, like, hey, can I have your home address? I don't know how you stay in touch other than running into people on jobs down the road. It was
either sending letters to friends. Yeah, I don't know. Every audition I used to go on, I would write a thank you letter to the casting lady. My mom, for 4 years, it was like 780 auditions before I booked my first job. So that's a lot.
Can you just say that again for everyone who's going to watch this and be like, how did you book this?
Yeah.
How many auditions?
780 something auditions. I think it was. It could have been. So the numbers get so. I think it was 780 when I started voice acting and I got my first job. I think on camera was 480 or something like that. Before I booked my first job, and 4 years almost of going to auditions, my mom driving me, paying for the gas, paying for the pager to get the page to pull over to put the coins in the machine, and
the traffic and the time and the. Yeah. I think it translates too into the online creative space for YouTubers, TikTokers. Sometimes it's your 300th video is the one that takes off. I've been on YouTube of 5 years at this point, and it's been the last 3 months that my channel has just. And
That's amazing.
sometimes it's just if you enjoy doing it
Yes.
and you keep doing it,
Yeah.
you get to keep doing it.
Definitely.
But you have to enjoy doing it. You can't push it.
And was there times, and let me ask you now, was there times as you went that you were kind of like, what am I doing? Is this worth it? Or like
all the time. But my YouTube channel has morphed. I started it while I was still a district attorney, while I was having health issues and back surgeries and stuff like that. So I started it as a way to connect and have community. But I was doing tech and unboxings and some lifestyle stuff. So as I shifted out of the DA's office into the entrepreneurial space, my channel shifted a bit too. But it was like, how do I make this channel work with what I'm doing? And then when I started my podcast, it was like, oh, I really love breaking down this topical stuff.
That's right.
And then my friend Warren, who's in the chat, was just like, no, we need to do this on YouTube too. And I was like, okay, why not? Why not? Everything else we do, it'll get a couple hundred views, it'll be fine. And then it just took off, and it's been great. I mean, now we have thousands of law nerds, and it's a blast. And I just love getting to be here and get to do this, and now get to do this full time with a bit of consulting work that I get to choose. I'm not doing like lawyer work, but I still get to be a lawyer and read contracts and break shit down, and I get to curse all the time and drink with friends on the YouTubes.
Yeah, cheers.
There are a few fantastic comments I'm going to pull up, and then we will talk a little bit more about SAG. It's a wandering conversation, you guys. Gunnar should have joined the Mighty Ducks for the third one.
I was in the third one, if you didn't know.
But you were a different character. It was so confusing.
I was the original Eddie Murphy. And I only say that because this was pre any of those where you play more characters than one. I have to give all my credit to Jordan Kerner, Steve Brill, who created the Mighty Ducks, Jordan Kerner, who produced it. They created such a nice family. In between the shooting of the Ducks, every month or every other month, the cast and everyone would get together, and we would go and meet somewhere and just have lunch and hang out. And so one day I just happened to, in the mail, a script showed up for Mighty Ducks 3 and said, welcome to Ducks 3. And I didn't know it was coming. I hadn't, and I looked through the script, and there's a character named Scott, who they wrote for me, but I'm so egotistical. I was reading it and I'm going, what character am I going to play? That guy has more lines. Maybe it's going to be that character. And I literally called, or I called or letter. I think I called, and I was like, what character? This is great. What character? And they're like, Scott, we wrote it for you. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, awesome. Totally. And again, just kind of like, yeah, great. It just kind of fell in my lap, but yeah, and a whole different character. I played an American this time instead of and the fun fact, in Ducks 3, I almost played two different characters. In Ducks 3, in the script, we were doing these table reads. So before you shoot the film, we all flew back to Minnesota. We sat around in a hotel, and they had cameras set up and microphones, and we just read the script out loud. It's so the writers can hear it, so the director can help imagine what he wants. You can hear it. You hear it on its feet with the actors. Yeah. So they hadn't cast this character called Stoner Dave or something like that. And he was this guy who's always, everything was like this, man, or that's the choice I made. So they just assign double, hey, you're skater number 2, you're bad guy 4. Hey, Scott, you're Stoner Dave, or whatever. And so, so I just read the role, man, and then I did my Scooter character too, or Scott, and everyone was laughing at those lines. And at the end of that, the producer Jordan came up to me and said, hey, I think I want you to play the Dave character also. And the director immediately was like, he's been another character. We can't have him do two different characters.
You can't have him do he's Gunner. We can't have him do everything.
We're already breaking the Hollywood rule here. But this is how far it went. They had we had this top secret operation, Operate Eagle Claw or something. And so, which is basically, let's get Scott cast as 2 roles. So I went into the trailer one day. I went into this makeup and hair trailer. They put me in a wig. They put these zits on my face. They gave me they glued on some facial hair. They put me in this little belly suit. And they said, hey, we're going to film you, read the lines, and make up a fake name like you're auditioning. And they filmed me on cassette tape. We did. They sent it. The producer sent it to the director and said, hey, we found the kid. He's in Michigan or somewhere, And they played the tape, and he's like, it's great. It's not Scott. Or, I mean, we know it's Scott. He's not going to play the role, and that's that. So they hired another actor. There's footage, but it's in the trash cans. Never made it. But there's this other character that unfortunately got cut. But it was a fun, cute little quirky, he had like the frilled cowboy jackets and hey man, everything was like that, man,
I love that.
And so that's a long story too long, but that's what
No,
I
it's
do.
not a long story too long. We're long form content here. There's a few other questions.
Yeah, please.
Sarah Ann, hello, girl. Good to see you. Had such a crush on Gunner. Probably helped that I love hockey. I'm sure you get that all the time still.
I do get a lot of like, I had a crush on you back then and stuff.
Yep.
And
You're like,
yeah. It's so
thanks.
flattering. I
was filming and had, it's got to be weird filming it and then waiting so long. Like with YouTube, I go live.
Yeah.
I see the chat as it's happening. You get live responses to what you're doing. If I upload a video within about 3 minutes, the comments start coming in. There's an instantaneous reaction, whether people like it or hate it or like me or hate me or my face annoys them, whatever. There's an immediate reaction. It's got to be weird creating something and not seeing a reaction to it for sometimes years.
Definitely. Yeah. For years for the final thing. But yeah, they would have these things on set called dailies, which was usually it took about a week. It was the week before's filming. And because it's shot on film back in the day, 35 millimeter, big cans of film. And then they send it off to Hollywood. We were shooting in Minnesota or wherever. They would send it to Hollywood to get processed, send it back. And then they would set up a tent to watch dailies. It was like, where's dailies today? Oh, over by the craft service. Oh, craft service meaning where all the food gets laid out. So we would go in these tents and they would just be playing the footage from the week before to see how those shots are looking. And they were all so rough, the camera's shaking and then you see the clipboard come up and take one, and then the camera resets and then, and then you watch little snippets and you go, how does this become a movie? And a year and a half later, then you go to a red carpet premiere and it's like, wow. That's amazing. Everything that goes in, like your show, meeting your tech people and everything. It's not just, hey, let's just make it up as we go. There is a lot of prep and thought, and sometimes the mics don't work, Emily.
Sometimes everything just doesn't work. Speaking of mics, we got a question about which shotgun mic you are using and why are you using it? Probably because Scott's a professional voice actor. But
is this the right end or what end is the mic? No. So this is a Sennheiser 416 shotgun mic because I am a gear nerd. This is usually one of the standard mics that you find in every studio. This or like what they call like a Neumann TLM 103 or a Neumann U87 for all you nerds out there. I would say the U87 and the TLM 103 are better for animation. They kind of pick up more space in the room. These shotgun mics, kind of what you pointed at, it picks up. So if I go over here, you can hear I get off axis real quick.
Right.
But these are kind of great for promos and trailers, radio, TV. And then I do a lot of looping and ADR stuff, which looping and ADR is basically adding background voices to movies and TV. If you see it in a TV show or movie, if it takes place in a coffee shop and there's two actors talking, on set, they're the two leads who are being mic'd and they'll be talking. And everyone else in the background, all the extras or atmosphere or background, whatever name you call it, whatever the most PC name is, I always forget. It's like one works and then they go, nah, background's too, they're now atmosphere, atmosphere is too rude. They're now leads, but quiet leads, or whatever. But they're in the background just, they're just
right.
But they're not really talking. So then a looper, which is a big part of my work now, is I go in and we add those voices. So, it takes place in a coffee. I get to work on shows. I've been able to work on a lot of really fun projects that my brain just kind of goes when I try to think of them. But a lot, night at the museums and a lot of like Supergirl and a lot of those superhero shows, Legends of Tomorrow. A lot of different things. It's fun, it's so weird. I used to know everything I work on. And now that I've been lucky that I get to work on a lot of stuff and I can't remember anything.
Which is kind of fantastic. You're like, we've worked on a lot. We have a question from Rich Lux. Hello, Rich. Good to see you. I don't know what an influencer SAG is, but anytime I have something SAG, I get it nipped or tucked or sucked or plucked or Botoxed. Love the show. Cheers. Thank you, Rich. I think that's totally fair. And it reminds me that before we go all the way off, and Rich is another great creator here on the YouTube for Scott, who's like, I don't know the YouTube things. I'm like, right, you do the real Hollywood things. We do the YouTube things. But
yeah, and nowadays that's the less important, YouTube is more powerful. So, hey, thanks for letting me ride your coattails.
Only one of the people on this stream is verified on Instagram. I'm just going to say that.
Okay. That's one more than none. So,
I mean,
are you talking about me?
Yes.
Oh,
talking about you.
I was like, well, great. I wish I could be part of that.
You're blue check marked.
It's no different on the other side. Trust me, Emily. I don't know.
You're like, I'm an actor. I don't care. For influencers, that's currency. For actors, it's like, of course, I'm.
Yeah, I had a very good friend who
you.
Well, no, how I got the blue tick. Because you know what? I'll comment on a world star sometimes, and I just get a slew of like, who the hell are you? Like, why do you have a blue tick? What have you done in your life? It's like, okay,
I'm gonna stall, motherfucker.
Yeah, you lost it for yourself, bitch. I'm not gonna say, but
you lost it for yourself, bitch.
My famous line. That should be my shirt. I should get shirts. And
you lost it for yourself, bitch. But it was the best line of that movie. It's the best line of that movie. Oh, so even though you might not have gotten all of the lines, you got, I think, one of the most memorable lines, other than like ducks fly together and quack, quack, quack.
Of course.
Like ducks fly together, quack, 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 and you lost it for yourself.
You lost it for yourself has kind of become a mantra of mine now as of recently, because it's so true. I mean, people that just, you make the wrong decisions for yourself, you lost it for yourself.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a mantra to life sometimes, as opposed to quack, quack, quack. I don't know how that fits into the, you can't just go, well, hey, when life throws you lemons, quack, quack, quack. But
or you could, maybe people would just stop talking to you. They'd be like, okay, we're done with that. We're walking the other way. All right, I'm going to pull up some of these just so we can talk about it, because I said I would, and I'm going to get the comments tomorrow. Emily, you said you were going to talk about SAG, and then you and Scott talked about everything but SAG. Yes. This is the general overview of what SAG is talking about. The influencer agreement for the actor union SAG-AFTRA covers hazardous stunts, gratuitous nudity, and sexual content are not permitted under the influence agreement. So hazardous stunts, that takes the Paul brothers out of it.
I was just
gratuitous nudity, I'm sorry, Trisha Paytas. Sexual content, everyone who has an OnlyFans, y'all out. SAG is not here for you.
Hang on a second. We got to shut down my OnlyFans page immediately. No, just fill it. SAG says no.
This is just the influencer agreement.
Oh, keep it up. Hang on. Don't do that. Okay, we're good. $20 a month.
Presently, only influencers who perform alone can sign the influencer agreement. So I've gotten a lot of question about things like family vloggers, and we'll talk about regulations on child actors in a moment, because I got a lot of questions about that. But it seems that family channels and channels who are more than one person are not going to be able to be SAG influencers. The influencer must be incorporated. Y'all get your LLCs now. Yeah. The influencer must produce their content themselves with no involvement by any third-party production entity. So I'm thinking this means no one in an MCN, but does this count if you hire an editor? Does this count if you have a production team, which a lot of big influencers do? So this might axe them out. Yeah. The influencer must own their intellectual property. So all the TikTokers who don't own the music might have an issue with this, because the influencer doesn't own their TikToks whole out because of the copyrighted music. Which is interesting. The influencer must have a direct contractual relationship with the brand. So people booking through things like multi-channel networks might not count here, because you've got to have paid work and paid advertisements, essentially, to get qualified for SAG.
Interesting.
In order to protect other areas of the union's jurisdiction, there are limits to how the influencer content may be used. This is very interesting. Exhibition is allowed only on the influencers and advertisers' social media feeds, YouTube channels, and websites. No use of the content in whole or part is allowed in other areas of the union's jurisdiction. No TV, traditional commercial, or industrial use. So now it's putting the influencers I think, kind of in a box where the influencers can't do, like David Dobrik, a YouTuber here, has done stuff with Chipotle on television. But if he was a SAG member, it reads that he would have had to turn down Chipotle because it's a television, and he would have been under this influencer agreement. So that's interesting to me.
It is.
No use of content in whole or in part on TV. I said that influencer content creation cannot be combined with another covered service. So that means if influencers are creating things that get into the other areas of SAG, you're going to have a problem. If you're an influencer, you have to stay in your influencer box.
Wow.
You can't be in an actor box or a voice actor box, or even a producer box or a writer box. Influencers will be bound by the same membership rules as their fellow members. The maximum period of use for an influencer content will be 1 year unless otherwise negotiated, which is interesting because most influencers, I still make money on YouTube videos that I did, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So I think a lot of influencers are going to look at this, the bigger influencers, and say, I don't know if that's for me. That's too restrictive.
Yeah.
But for smaller influencers, it might give a way to really get that commercial use. But a lot of smaller influencers don't have direct brand deals. So it's, for me, it's an agreement, but it's also a, let's keep these things very distinct. And I don't know how that's going to go for the influencers, because people like the D'Amelios, who are TikTokers, the two girls, Charlie and Dixie, they got a reality show on Hulu, Netflix, I don't know. But if they were signed with SAG, my reading of this, if they were signed with SAG as TikTok influencers, they could not have taken that show.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, from you reading that and double seeing that now, there's a lot of restrictions on that. And it is very, I would think if I was a popular influencer, because I am, notice I have the N apostrophe T.
Very popular influencer.
But I would think that would almost, that's almost very deterring because SAG does seem to kind of want it to be controllable, to, hey, you just need to be at this level that there's money coming in, and now you just sit here and follow. Yeah. So which could be a good thing for some of these people that are trying to find some stability or some grounding where they go, I don't know how to do, brands are coming to me, I don't know how to do this. So, or where does the price start? So that's,
and I think it would work. I see this really in the Instagram influencer space. There's a lot of Instagram influencers that are really happy just being Instagram influencers. That's what they want to do. They want to stay on Instagram. The TikTokers a lot of the time seem to me to want to branch from TikTok, but there are these Instagram influencers who also blog and also do a thing that might really well fit into this, because they're like, I don't want to be on TV. The thing that's hard for me, if I were looking at this and looking at a creator that I liked, I'm like, but how much do you need it? Is it worth limiting yourself? And if you're taking the $3,000 a year plus 1% of your earnings, could you hire a PR agency? Could you hire a manager to help with reading contracts and getting contracts? So it's interesting to me. I think there will be some who will want to be a part of SAG for sure, and should if they want to. And I think for others, you're going to have to really read through it to understand the restrictions. But that's true with any contract. For sure. Before you know the benefits, know the restrictions. Know the restrictions first.
Yes, because I know firsthand that can come up and bite you later when you go, I think I should get paid for that. Oh no, your contract said, I didn't read that fine print.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So funny, but it's in that 10-point font.
Yeah, exactly. When it goes to the smaller font, you read the smaller font first, and then you kind of work your way up to the bigger stuff. But it is interesting how they want someone who doesn't have, you mentioned the editing thing or your team or whatever. That's really deterring, I would find, because most of these people, you get to that level, and it's just the natural step of getting, I need an assistant. I need someone who can help me get through the days, because so much is because being an influencer takes so much more work than just doing an audition and submitting it and then you wait. It's, you got to edit, you got to do the sound, you're creating, you're filming, you're doing your tech, you're
writing,
you're writing,
you're lighting, you're filming, you're editing, you're acting.
You are your own
together
producer. And so when they say you can't be associated with producers, or you can't have and it's like, well, but I already am a producer. So are you saying I can't do it? Because I'm already technically a producer. I just haven't given myself that credit yet. So
I wonder if they'll define production entity in this more, and what they mean by production entity. Because if they mean an editor, then it's going to be a problem. If they mean a actual licensed SAG production entity,
Yeah.
I think that would be a different thing. So
Exactly.
we'll see some of the details on this. The entire agreement is just coming out. It's going to be linked below where the agreed upon influencer details are out. If you are an influencer and want to read them, you can read them for yourself and kind of start to see if this is something that you want or something that you just have questions about. I think it's fascinating. I don't know. Reading these restrictions, I don't know if traditional actors will really give a shit about it because it really is keeping the influencers like over there and
Yeah.
keeping the actors over here.
Yeah.
So the union's not commingling influencers with actors, it would seem. I want to
Yeah.
see if the SAG Awards starts doing like influencer of the year.
Yeah, definitely. I think you see it with years ago too, where like William Morris or big agencies would come along and they would start signing these Vine stars or people like that for no reason other than to just get their fingers in them and claws in them before anything could happen. Because the sooner you can get them, the more you can control your, not bringing up any sort of Britney Spears controlling stuff, but once you got your claws in them, once you sign with SAG, the golden rule, you cannot do anything that's not SAG. So they then have that control, that blanket that they've now thrown on you. So it becomes like, how do I be myself if I'm going to go about doing this? There's also a very interesting side that you probably don't know. There's some actors, union actors, that are now trying to get SAG to be open to allowing non-union actors to just join SAG for like a window of time. And they can still be doing this is all just talk right now. There's no, but I think it has to do with building up the power of SAG again and getting more people involved and like what they're doing with the influencers. The thought is like, let's bring us all together so that we have power together, which is what the concept of a union is. If we all agree, we can all set the rules together.
I think where SAG would become very attractive to influencers if they were not just negotiating commercially, but if they began negotiating with the platforms. Right now, they've said they're not negotiating with TikTok. They're not negotiating with Instagram or YouTube. But if SAG said, look, we will also help negotiate with YouTube. So if YouTube eradicates your channel with no notice, you would at least have the union going, excuse me, we would please like some answers. This is a union member. You've removed their channel. Can you show us the community strikes or these things? Because this does happen on YouTube. You could be I was on a stream this morning with a creator who has had their channel for ages, has never had, you can see violations in the back end of your YouTube if there's issues, never had any issues, was midstream, and YouTube literally Thanos snapped their channel. Gone. No explanation other than there was a community strike. And this happens. People get demonetized. You're on YouTube, you have no notice, and then you can't monetize anything. And so you've got creators making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month that all of a sudden are like, oh, no more for you. And you're like, so I think if there was ever a way that SAG would negotiate with the platforms the way they negotiate with the studios, I think that would be a huge benefit. I think this is a first step, but I also think negotiating with the platforms would be a huge benefit to influencers and creators.
And that you're just so brilliant, and cheers to you, Emily. The points that you make completely make my mind like, oh, that's right. I didn't even think about that, because as I take a drink, it's Friday.
We drink and we curse on this stream. Friday Night Live. We have fun.
There are. I mean, every big influencer seems to have a beef against YouTube, Instagram, or whatever for putting in their claws and controlling their situation that they have created, monetizing whatever it be. It's like, everything's cool, guys. We're just YouTube. Hey, come join us. And now it's like, oh, don't say that though, because you're gonna get cut. Oh, don't say that now because you're gonna not get the money. And it's like, you do need SAG or influencer union to come along and be like, whoa, no, we have lawyers now to help our people, to understand this. Because if I was just an influencer who is a brilliant mind at creating stuff but has no business sense, any musician, actor, it's like just being an artist.
And lots of creatives.
You don't know the fine print, nor can you understand when they start saying as his, her entity known as hereforth the entity. It's like, okay, sorry, I'll agree. I'll just click agree. That's fine. To come to later, it bites you in the ass.
And these contracts to be on YouTube, you either agree to what they say or
Right.
you can't be on YouTube. You can't negotiate it. Like,
Right,
if you're going into a job, you can say, "Look, that turnaround's unrealistic for me. I need this." You can negotiate your contracts and negotiate your working conditions. You cannot do that on these platforms. You
Totally.
are on or you are off. And they said, "Well, you can go elsewhere." Where can
Yeah.
I go?
I'll go to YouTube too.
We'll go somewhere. So there's nowhere. It's very, very interesting. So I'm going to pull up some more questions, you guys. We're going to just get to
Yeah.
questions. We've
Yeah.
covered the Screen Actors Guild. We're going to talk about life and life as a creator. There definitely is more to talk about here. This question came up from Little Red Star. What does that mean for social media sponsorships and for the social media people that want to do music production and script writing? It means that if they are in the union, I believe they would have to also qualify in the union in those other areas. But if they're just in the influencer, they cannot cross over into those other things. That's how I'm reading that. Do you want to add to that, Scott, or should we go to the next one?
I think that's good. I think that they reserve those rights to define things. You keep everything, it's to your advantage. You keep it vague enough that you can then define it later. We see it in the government with laws and like, how much do I owe in taxes? Well, we need to wait for them to define these rules, or whatever.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, great point. Yep.
Margaret asked, does this cover audio podcasters? No, Margaret. These new influencer contracts cover Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So it covers people who are getting paid sponsorships. So just like doing commercial work, it covers commercial work. So if you're getting paid for commercial work, that's going to be how they're pinning whether you can apply and get into the union or not.
Wow.
So, yep. This is a question for Scott from Little Red Star. Has there been a shoot that wasn't what you expected, good or bad, other than falling off a horse?
Yes. Yeah, there has. One of my most fun projects to be part of, and one of the most probably chaotic projects to be part of was, and I'm going to say it, I normally don't I'm not talking trash. I'm just saying I normally don't, as an actor, you don't normally go,
YouTube.
first thing to watch, what?
We're just friends up here on YouTube.
We're just friends. Thanks.
Share
Don't
the
tell
secret.
anyone, okay?
Share
How
the
many
secret.
people are?
Oh, it's under 2,000. It's fine.
It's fantastic. I did a movie called The Ghosts of Goldfield, which is probably again one of the most fun projects I worked at. Basically, the storyline is a bunch of paranormal people go out to Goldfield, Nevada, which was a real gold mining town. A bunch of stuff went down. And there's a Goldfield Hotel, which is supposed to be historically and researchery is one of the 7 portals in the world where spirits can come and go and cross sides and stuff. So I booked this film to go out there and shoot this paranormal movie, where these young kids trying to be paranormal come across they get into the whole hotel. And we got to go out to the real town. We got the keys to the real hotel. We got to walk around the real hotel. We filmed in one of the real hotels that was still dressed with the appropriate beds and furniture from the 1880s and everything. Amazing. I became good friends I did the film because I found out Roddy Piper was going to star in it, the wrestler.
Rowdy.
Who I grew up watching with my dad and my brother watching all this wrestling. And him and I hit it off, became best friends until he passed away. And it was one of the greatest friendships. I've met great friends working, but Roddy was very, 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 very special to me. Kellen Lutz, who's become a huge actor in his own right. Twilight, come on now. Let's not get started. Hello.
So my favorite Kellen Lutz film, for real, my favorite Kellen Lutz film is Stick It.
Yeah.
Too much rock for one hand. I fucking love that
movie. Kellen's such a great guy. And this was his first film that he had ever done. He was a fan of Citygate. He came on set and couldn't believe that. It was like a whole hierarchy of, he had never acted. He was a fan of mine. I was on set with Roddy, fan of his. It was like everyone was just praising each other. We had such a great team. And then we got on set and like 2 days in, they ended up saying like, hey, who's pulling focus on this camera? And no one had been putting things in focus. They just set it up and hit film and, and then we actually ran out of time. We couldn't finish the film because we were so far behind schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They had to stop the film. We all went home our own ways and went, well, we did half a film. That's it. And about 2 months later, they got more funding and they said, hey, can we finish up the film? 2 weeks we need for you to come back out to Vegas. Roddy called me up going, hey, champ, are you going to do this? And I'm like, I'm in if you're in, bro. Let's have some fun, and so hopped on a plane, met up with Roddy again, 2 more weeks of just acting and goofing off and drinking and storytelling. And on the last night, as we wrapped, I wrapped early and he had wrapped. So we started drinking Jim Beam together. And then they brought me in. They said, hey, do you want to play this? We have an 1880s flashback. So I put on this fake mustache and sat down at the bar and watching the girls dance for this whole shot. And they gave me this big cigar. I mean, the thing was, I'd never seen a cigar that big, but it was like $1.99 at the local shop, you know, so not quality. And I'm sitting there I'd already been drinking with Roddy and already drunk, and now I'm smoking this terrible cigar. And now I'm feeling sick. And I go back to we wrapped the film. That was the last shot. We go back and get in the car to go back to the hotel to have our wrap party in the hotel. And Roddy gets in next to me. He's like, how you doing, champ? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing okay. I'm not so good, actually. And he's like, oh, come on. He socks me right in the stomach.
Oh,
and
God. I felt that.
Oh, and Roddy, he would always go, I'm going light on you. One time he was like, you want to feel what it's like to get choked out? And I'm like, not really. He's like, come on, everyone needs to feel it once. I'll go light on you.
Everyone needs to feel it once, he said.
Yeah, he was he was like a dad to me, He's like, I'm going to choke you up and choke you out real soft. 3, are you ready? 3, 2, barely did anything. I was like, okay, Tap, we're good. Didn't put any pressure on. But he socks me in the stomach. I go back to the room and throw up the rest of the night. Don't get to attend the wrap party because I'm puking because Roddy got me drunk and then punched me in the stomach.
And there was the matter of the cheap cigar.
Oh, the matter of the cheap, because the cheap cigar set it off. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And then here they are knocking on my door. Hey, champ, you in there? You coming down to the party? I'm like, yeah, man, I'll be right there, Roddy. I'm gonna go back to vomiting. And that was the wrap of my party. And that great film. Just the organization on the back end of the production side was a little bit behind. We ran out of time, as a lot of every production gets behind schedule, but they cut it so close. Yeah. And we came back, had to finish the film. The edits were a little bit off. Still a fun film, but I watch it. It's great memories. But man, I was terrible in that film.
Unexpected got to be besties with Ryan Piper.
Sometimes you just take what you can out of, some projects, the project and everything is great. Other projects, I did a film that will never see the light of day, but it's where I met my wife. So that was the great takeaway from that project. So there's always stories. There's always stories from everything, good or bad. And the bad ones are usually just as fun or more memorable than the good ones in that respect.
It's got to be so weird creating stuff because with YouTubers, most of the time we create stuff, we edit it, we throw it goes up. It's got to be strange to create and then not have that control. I feel like the social media influencers are like, no, I control my light. I control my angles. I control what I say. I control my pacing. I control my editing. But to stand out, perform, and then let it be in somebody else's hands, and it might never see the light of day, would be odd.
Yeah. But that's how it was. And now everything is just immediate, immediate response, immediate reactions, immediate likes, immediate whatever.
For better or for worse, right?
For better or for worse. But I think, I think it's better. I like adjusting with the times and stuff, I might not fit in, with what's going on, what's current now, but I'm fine with that. I'm a little bit into everything. And as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing and people are writing me or respond, all these Ducks fans or City Guys fans or all these other people that write me, it just makes me, man, come on. People still take the time to just say, hey, you changed my life. I loved the Mighty Ducks. And man, that's like the best feeling in the world. Something
nothing like it.
Didn't know. Yeah, so come on, you with all the people that write you, all the responses, all the views, all the information. I mean, I look back at your videos now and I go to you to find out how I understand these concepts or what is going on in that case. There's, it's like, this is too crazy. Could someone just speak English? And then we have Emily.
I love that. The views, they are what they are because that's how YouTube monetizes stuff. Yeah. But the stories and getting to create a community and connect with a community has been the most special part. The DMs, the comments on particularly the TED Talk, the comments on the TED Talk, this is exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you for getting me through lockdown. This has been really hard. This community has created a positive place for me to be on the internet. The people I've met through the chat, because the chat, yes, they're here to ask questions, but they're also here to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like an old school AOL chat room in here before the videos even start, where everybody gets to connect. That's the best part. I mean, that connection is really the best part. And on that, we have some other questions about SAG that I want to make sure we get to as we jump along here.
Right.
Grace Case said, what about commentary and drama channels who use other clips? This gets into that SAG detail. I think that when it comes to other clips, SAG might be just asking about the monetized commercial content. So we'll see. But it could mean that channels that rely heavily on fair use might not qualify under that. We're going to have to wait for more guidance on that.
Weird.
This is flying right along. I totally get it. Couldn't he have then joined as an actor? Some could just join as an actor if they qualify, but they have to do traditional commercial work.
Okay.
Do you know? I don't know what the acting qualifications are. Is it paid commercial work or paid certain amount of days of paid work?
Yeah, there's different rules about it. I mean, there's different ways you can get in. One, like I said, I don't know if it still stands, but it was like if you're the only shot on camera. I went after some money once because I was in a commercial that they paid everyone, and then we're supposed to be leads, and this leads into residuals where. So on a bet, you do a TV commercial as a SAG actor, and let's say you get paid oh boy, now I don't even know the rates. $500
No,
for
you
the
get
day.
paid the rate.
You get paid the day rate, yes.
Yeah.
But then the commercial starts airing on TV, and you get residuals. You get money coming your way after the fact. And back in the day, and like in the 80s and stuff, if you were the old guy that did the Santa Claus commercial for Coca-Cola that they ran for 4 years in a row, and I met one of these Santas, he told me he would make $100,000 every year because they would run that same commercial and you get paid. My first Poptarts commercial, I think over 3 years or something, I made like $40,000 or something like that. I mean, like good money. 14 years old. Was that? Sorry.
I said you promptly turned around and bought a DeLorean.
I did promptly. That was another year fight with my parents. It was 8 months or so to get into acting class, about a year to get them to convince me to allow me to buy a DeLorean. That was my ducks money.
Scott drove a DeLorean to school.
I
drove a yellow Volvo. Scott had a DeLorean.
I remember that yellow Volvo too.
It was my parents. My parents bought it the year that we were born, which we don't need to say on the stream. My parents bought it the year that we were born. That is how old that Volvo was.
That is so fantastic. Oh, that's so great. Our first cars. And I bought it.
Your car was way cooler.
Well, it was also way worse. I'll say, so I got the car and it cost at the time, DeLoreans it was like 15 grand, 16 grand, something like that. So I bought the car from this older couple. I was part of the DeLorean Owners Association membership thing. This older couple who was really nice, who invited me to all these events. They had two cars. One was theirs that they drove around. One was the show car for events and things. And that was the nice, clean. So they sold me the nice, clean car with the understanding that I would sell it back to them when I was done with it, or when I wanted to sell it. They had first. So I bought it for 16. I put like 8,000 into it to get it fixed up. Went to the set of the Mighty Ducks like, this is my car, everybody. And oh, cool. Hey, let's hear the engine, man. Car didn't start. And then here I am, everyone's leaving set, and I'm sitting in my car waiting for, one of the A's, triple A's, we'll call it. I'm waiting for AA to show up to be like, hey, you've been drinking. The keys, it goes in the ignition here. No, triple A to show, and literally the whole crew was driving. But do you need any help? No, I'm fine. We got triple A's on their way. They're gonna tow it. So that's the first day of showing the car. It was you'd step on the gas to get on the freeway. The car would like slow down. Like, well, I can't speed up right now. 88 miles an hour. No. You would be in time because the car was shaking by the time you got to 75 so bad that you got to 88.
Shook at like 70. I think it was my parents' master plan that the car really couldn't go over about 65.
Right. So you can't be the racing demon that I
definitely tried. We definitely tried. You could fit two full-grown water polo players in the trunk of that car. And I know because I did it on more than one occasion. Shit that's not safe.
That's amazing.
But we could fit like 2 6'4" dudes in the back of that car.
How many people did you have the most in your car? Did you ever pack in?
God, my dad is watching.
Okay.
I think the most we ever got into the Volvo was like 13 people. Wow. It was a big car. I was one of the few that had, and it was mostly the polo team because I always drove everywhere, but I also got pretty car sick. So I was always like, I'll drive. So it was totally fine for me.
That's
We had a
amazing.
few more questions about SAG.
Yeah.
Coding Roses, good to see you, said, so the box is one-sided. Actors can be influencers. How is that fair? And we'll see if influencers say, but then can actors do commercials on TikTok? Can actors do commercials on,
Right.
on other forms of social media? We'll see. It's a good question. I don't think it's answered in that, but it's a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah.
Because yes, a lot of people, so influencers can't cross over. I don't think it's going to stop actors from crossing over, which might dissuade influencers to do it because influencers do end up on TV. Classy mom, hello, girl. Emily Scott. Would children teen be incorporated as child actors? Are with governing protections. This seems to be geared to adults. This does seem to be geared towards adults for the influencer space. I know that you were on set as a minor under
Yeah.
18. Were there particular rules for y'all that were different than everybody else?
As an under 18, if you don't have, I'm forgetting now what it would call it. You have to go to like the courts to get that emancipation. That's
Yeah.
what it was. So, anyway, but backing up just a quick, if you were under 18, they would have to have like on the Ducks, we would have to have 3 hours of school every day, which was almost like a one-on-one. The education on sets was always really good. It was one-on-one time for 3 hours to get all your work done and, on set, and then you could go work. So I think it was something they could use you for 6 hours and they needed you for 3 hours of schooling or something like that. But yeah, so that
for 6 hours if you did 3 hours of school.
you needed the schooling was definite, and
Yes.
then they could only work you up to a certain amount of hours,
Right.
beyond,
Limits.
So your
Mhm.
full day was something like 8-9 hours, something like that, I think was a maximum. So, and then whereas adults you could work up to 12. I'm kind of making that up. None of that is.
Roughly.
Yeah, roughly. I just shake my hand, but yeah, it was something, it was less hours. But everyone was kind of encouraged in my generation when you turned 15, 16 to get emancipated, which meant that you didn't need this. Production didn't need to hire the teachers. You
Right.
didn't need the 3 hours. You could work as an adult, so you could work the full 10. It was kind of like, if you want to work, you should get the emancipation,
So you can work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember crying because my brother did it when he tiptoed into acting real quick for a minute there, and he got emancipated at like 16. I'm 4 years behind him. And I cried that night because I was like, oh my God, emancipation. He's going to move out and he's never coming home and he's an adult. They'll never talk to us again. And like, stupid. It's like, no,
but it
now they
is.
can just overwork me.
It's just it's different, and I think the reason these questions are coming up, and you're probably not familiar with this weird aspect of YouTube, but there are family vloggers that vlog with their kids day in and day out. A lot of those kids don't go to school, so there's been a lot of heat on the family vloggers of, okay, but these kids are being homeschooled, but they're vlogging everything. So how many hours a day are kids really working?
Yeah.
Are there any regulations about family vloggers? Because parents are choosing to have their kids on film now all day long, and there aren't, are there breaks for school? What does that look like? Who's regulating it? So that's where some of these questions are coming from, is this push-pull in the family vlogger space where people feel that, maybe kids are being monetized in a way that's uncomfortable. And on YouTube, a lot of the analytics of those channels show that the people watching those channels are not other kids, but adults, and tends to be adult males. And is that an issue with having kids on film so much? So that's where some of those questions are coming from, because there aren't really regulations with regard to what you can do on YouTube in that way.
Yeah, on set they have it all on lockdown. They have the rules. But yeah, I never thought about that too. See, again, you're brilliant, Emily. Why are you
I'm
doing
not brilliant. It's just something that comes up on the YouTubes a lot, because there are all these little caveats to YouTube, and YouTube spent so many years, and we're going to get to your question, Meriden. There's so many little caveats on YouTube where YouTube didn't apply the Children Online Privacy Protection Act. And so there were channels that were targeted at kids, but they weren't doing the proper ad things to collect information. So there's been a lot of this push-pull with YouTube and Google as a platform. And Google's like, look, you all have to apply to the federal rules, but it's not you have to apply the rules. It's not up to us to apply FTC rules. Where if you're a traditional actor, you show up on set and you're like, y'all are doing the right thing. Just handle it.
Yeah.
I'll know my lines.
And it's the next generation of stage moms, as we called it back in the day. The parent that would go, "You're going to be an actor, Timmy. Say it like this. Smile when they're looking at you. Get on set.
Learn the renegade. Learn the renegade. You're going to be on the TikTok.
Yeah, man. Trust me. I practice I do I'm working on all the dance moves. I'm trying to get the Fortnite dance move. There's a really tough one that throws my spine out, throws my, if you've had back surgery, don't try that one. That one will pop your lower lumbar in the third.
My kids try to still do the Fortnite dances. Meriden said, I very much doubt SAG will make that reciprocal and prevent traditional actors from entering the influencer space. I get it. See that many who have started YouTube channels double standard there. And again, that's going to be for the influencers decide whether they want to join or not. This is if the Actors Guild, and I get the members are like, look, if we're going to open this up to influencers, there's going to be some parameters. And that's the right of the members of the union, but it's also the right of influencers to not join or to start another union. So we are going to keep hopping along. Scott's like, yep.
Yeah, no, this is amazing. This is like the best thing ever. I normally don't do these sort of things, but you asked me and come on, man, I couldn't.
I know. And you don't. Why don't you normally do these kinds of things?
I don't know. I'm always kind of in this. To be perfectly honest, I feel like I'm saving it for a rainy day. Like I always feel, I book the next big thing or whatever, and I get so excited. I'm like, this is it. And then by the time it comes out and stuff, and I can announce and talk about this stuff, I go, I don't know if now's the time. I have this whole idea that someday I'm just gonna like become not an influencer, but I feel
famous?
Yeah, I'm just gonna become a sellout is what it's going to be. And I'm just gonna go, you want me on any podcast? I'll do it. But right now I'm kind of like a little bit like, oh, well, let me just get a history behind me so I can not just talk about the Mighty Ducks stuff, or, I can kind of, there'll be 25,000, not really, but there'll be a lot of ways to connect with me. It's like, I became the voice of Crash Bandicoot last year, which was a huge, I played the games growing up, and like, that would be a dream of mine. And then it became a dream, or the dream became a reality. And now I'm like, hey guys, I'm the voice of Crash Bandicoot. Wait, don't tell. Let's just keep that under wraps, because they do that at Comic-Cons eventually when I start doing Comic-Cons. And I'm always just holding off instead of just sharing.
God, you have a massive fucking resume.
Thanks. I know. I'm just years
beyond the Mighty Ducks. I mean, how many different brands are you the voice of?
I'm the voice right now of like Patron Tequila. I'm the voice of ZipRecruiter.
You held it up. You're like, Patron Tequila. You can go ahead and hashtag not sponsored, but Patron.
Patron Tequila.
Your boys representing you well.
Yeah. Oh, they've been so good. This was like 2 months of them us working together, trying to figure out the voice. And then they disappeared for a month. And I went, well, that was a fun waste of time for 2 months pretending I could be the voice of Patron. And they literally sent me an email saying, hey, you got 2 weeks, pack your bags. We have to fly you down to Jalisco, Mexico, to teach you about the whole tequila making process. And then at that point, I thought, this is a joke. Now you've just been doing this for 2 months to F with me.
Now you're fucking with me. Yeah.
And then they sent the tickets, first class and everything. And then I went and I had the most amazing, I fell in love with the Patron tequila making process. Everyone that worked there. I mean, it was an unbelievable eye-opening experience, and it forever changed me. And not only that, that was an amazing perk, to just take a trip to then just come home and go, Patron Tequila, or do these videos explaining the tequila process. But that's what they do with everyone. They really say we're a family, and they really mean it. My name is on this brass thing on their Patron tree of life, where it's like, it's the Patron family, and you get to put your name on the tree and it stays there forever, that's
really cool. Though voicing, like giving a brand a voice, is how people connect. It's why, are you on Clubhouse, the Clubhouse app yet?
No, I'm waiting for the invite from you.
I'll send you an invite.
I've recently found out about the whole Clubhouse.
No, I'll send you an invite.
Hashtag OK Boomer right here. Thank you.
Same. But Clubhouse is really voice only. And I think it's the reason podcasts have also grown so much, is there's something very intimate about a voice and about hearing someone's voice and about connecting with a voice. Yes, video is one thing, but there's something different about just a voice, and voicing a brand is a very big way for people to connect. You give the personality and the life to an inanimate thing. You downplay it and you're like, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal, because that's how people are connecting to brands and how brands are making themselves more relevant.
Yeah. And yeah, you're speaking of what they're selling. It's a psychology. What you have to break down, like what are they selling? It's not just a car. They're selling luxury in life.
Right.
How to use your voice. How do you translate luxury? It goes
Yeah,
beyond.
they're selling Matthew McConaughey driving in his
I was always just sort of sitting there thinking about things. I love Matthew McConaughey. I'm actually working on these sketches right now where it's like Matthew McConaughey in his car just sitting outside of Taco Bell going, a burrito would be so good right now, but man, if there's no toilet around and we're all on lockdown, how am I going to get, But I have a bunch
so good.
I have sketch ideas that last year I started assembling. I bought cameras, I bought microphones, I bought lighting, and I'm going to start creating this stuff. And right before I had a team of people, and we were all going to we put together a production team. We put money in the bank. We were like, here's our budgets and everything. And then 2 weeks later, everything went to crap, and it all just kind of fizzled out. I hope I can pick up.
Still got a camera and a ring light. Get on TikTok. It'll be fine. I'll do the sketches.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm actually on TikTok. No one knows it's me because I'm wearing a costume and all I do is dance, and no one knows it's me. And
I love that.
It's amazing. And you'll never find me because I only, but I got to put up more stuff. It's just, I wanted to just do something, but I didn't want to, again, it was like, I don't want to be me. No one wants me yet.
That's not
I have
true.
to earn me.
Fascinating. I mean, I know you put you behind your characters, but you have done, you've been a child actor, you've been a voice actor, you've been a commercial actor, you've been a movie actor, you've run a show as a lead on a seasonal show. It's so much different experience. And there aren't a ton of people who have such a varied experience and are willing to talk about this is the varied experience that I've had. It's fascinating, truly.
I'm very lucky in everything that I've done, and I'm so grateful for everything. But I can now go back being the person I am now, which only has happened in the last 3 years that I've really become myself. But I can say that a lot of that was just insecurity. I had friends and everything growing up, but I always was into my own thing with the toys and the voices and the acting and stuff. And I was not in a bad way, but I was just insecure. I didn't know really where I kind of fit in, looking back,
Girl on the water polo team also didn't know where I fit.
This is why watching your TED Talk, I was like, man, it's so amazing when you get to this point where you realize the past or realize past things. So I can say now that it's all sort of an insecurity thing. And now I'm not slowly, I feel I'm a lot more in the last 2 years, especially. I've become my own person and I'm very secure in my own shoes now. And I know who I am. So I know who I was. But that's also feeds into why I've been hesitant, because it's like, man, I was so insecure and just not sure. I loved what I was doing, but I wasn't thinking about do people love me? Or because I just thought in my head, I'm just lucky to be here. And forever, I'm lucky to be here. And the thought of this whole career has been a joke and it's all going to go away tomorrow. And that insecurity is still here with me when I do voice job. I don't think it ever really goes.
No.
But there's always that thing man, has this been a 30-year joke in my career? And tomorrow everything will get washed up and go.
Get a real job.
Yeah, I feel I'm gonna be 70, retired, and I'll be like, I think everything's gone away because it was a joke. It was a play on me the whole time, But yeah, it's really But yeah, now who I am, I know that, that's I need to just take more steps towards becoming this secure person who is fuck it, this is who I am. I'm going to be me. And hopefully people will want to go on this journey with me because I have great ideas, sketches. I want to reunite the cast of City Guys. I want to get some ducks on a podcast. There's so many ideas that I know I can make happen. It's just me going, yeah, I believe in that. I believe in that. And people, even 5 people like it, then it's a 6th person in me and it's worth doing. So
you guys, chat, tell Scott that you like it, please. Just give him the instant feedback that is the drug of YouTube.
Yeah.
And let him know, go follow him on the places, the YouTubey places.
Yeah.
We've got all his information in the chat. He's the Scott Whyte.
Everything's the Scott Whyte. Yeah. WHY.
It's perfect. On the Instagram, on the Twitters, though he's not very active on the Twitters, I checked, on the YouTubes. But go follow Scott and let me know in the chat. You guys, we've talked for almost an hour and 30 minutes.
I'm so sorry.
No. We're going to keep talking. They're used to the long form. They're here for it. If I ended now, they'd be like, where the fuck did you go?
Let's keep going. Come on. We're going to midnight. We're doing a 24-hour telethon. Your caller 102. You've won a family 4-pack to Disneyland. No, I don't know. I'm stupid.
Which is so is you've got a family 4-pack to Disneyland to get a COVID test. That's all you
to get a COVID test.
all
Wear
your
your masks.
at Disneyland. But it's just so interesting to hear your perception of kind of yourself, because I look at what you do. There's so much skill behind being able to do something different with your voice. And you're like, you've created a career out of what you naturally loved. And so it doesn't feel like work. You're like, but it's not work, it's play. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to make money doing what you fucking love to do.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's like the goal. Nobody tells us that's the goal, because we grew up with what, get a job. Like, what's your job? Do a thing.
Mhm.
But creating a world around what you love to do is what we get to do.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Okay.
You know, and going back to that TED Talk that you did, that, you know, learning your whole story and everything and filling in those pieces I didn't know was one thing and amazing. But then when you switched it and you turned it to the focus of the TED Talk of like, people say, what do you do and how you're trained, and reverse engineer your life. Where do you want to be? And I mean, I think I didn't sleep most of last night because I was sitting there going, wow, re-engineering. What do I want? Like, how do I, at any point in your life, even I'm, you know, by many standards, I'm doing what I love. I'm successful at it. I'm so lucky. I'm grateful. I love what I do. But there is an element that immediately I responded to going, what do I want to do? Because this is my life. I step in this 4x6 room. No one bugs me all day. It's my way. I step in here and I've realized I avoid everything out there. COVID, it's so bad. All my musician friends aren't working, haven't been for even longer than the COVID.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things, but I come in here and then I just focus. And I work sometimes from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. just doing auditions, doing jobs, doing whatever, because I just avoid having to focus on that stuff. It's all, but when you said, you know, you said what you said, it's like, man, I've thought forever. It would be nice to have a place in Hawaii and just, you know, live on the beach and, you know, or whatever. And it's like, how do I
the blue blocks in Hawaii, you know, you could
believe me, when you said that last night, I sat there going, okay, so I need the studio in the room in Hawaii and I need to, you know, or whatever. I mean, it can happen. And now with everything going on now, I think the business is going to change because I've done everything in this booth that I would have to drive out to Burbank for. We're talking the biggest Pixar movies, Disney movies, Marvel films, Warner Brothers films. I've done in this booth on this microphone with some of the biggest producers, you know, that I can't break NDAs, you know, but I've been on the line talking to these people and like we're friends, you know what I mean? And they need my help
to be there.
It's amazing. You don't have to be there anymore. I mean, and they don't want stuff to leak. They say, hey, no, blah, blah. I have on my hard drive some of these films that, like, if this stuff leaked, it would end. You know, I'm just I erase them when they're gone. You know, I respect all those rules too. I don't hold on to stuff for any other because I don't want anyone to hack into my stuff and all of a sudden the new movie's online.
Absolutely.
But it's funny how the whole shift has changed from like, you won't know the sides or the film until you get on set. And now it's like, hey, you're going to be working on this. We're sending you the whole movie. Make sure that you you know, it's like, okay. It's awesome. I'm in such a lucky position. And I love what I do.
VPN downloaded. They were a sponsor on the channel, which is why I'm
fantastic.
Patron. Oh, the stories I can't remember.
Let me tell you. When we were down there, who's this?
Celine.
And
that is coming in from Mexico. So thank you.
So we had 4 days down in Jalisco where it was like every 3 hours there was a margarita drink break, and it was like, take part of the tour of this, you know, now we're having margaritas and fresh tacos, now take part of a tour, now we're gonna do this. And every night it was like, let's just get drunk 8 p.m. until whenever we want. The bar is ours, free drinks everywhere, the most amazing bartender who's lighting stuff on fire and smoking things up and sliding it across and doing flips, and then here I am, like the last night, right? It's like the big final party, and now I'm drunk off my ass on top of the bar that I shouldn't be standing on, because some nice gold brass, whatever. And I'm standing there singing Elvis Presley and I'm slapping some dude on the head. And then at the end of the night, I'm like, hey, who's that cool dude who's slapping on his head? And they're like, that's the president of Bacardi, because Bacardi just bought, you were literally slapping the head of Bacardi's, you know, and I'm like, man, he was fun. Yeah. You know, like, I mean, it was just wild, the memories. And luckily enough, I remembered those memories, but I definitely know the memories that I don't remember. So, and I can't tell you because I don't.
You're like, I did what?
Trust
This
me.
is a great question from Joe. Scott, how was it recording the voice in Sims 4 with their language?
Sul big dag mek storpge. Sul to all my Sims fans. Yeah, Joe, it was working on The Sims, which I'm still working on. We've been doing that now for 8 years.
Wow.
It is an absolutely it's a gift from the gods, because not only have I grown so much, because to speak in a foreign language is one thing. To speak in
Right.
no language is another thing. And to do that in a session where we wake up, we start at 10 a.m., we go till 6 p.m., speaking gibberish all day long. It's usually two of us in a room, so it's usually a guy and a girl, so they can easily edit the female and the male voices. But it's absolutely a blast. The whole cast is amazing. My brain has become 3 times, because it's not 30 times, it's 3 times faster. I'm getting older. But yeah, I'm just, it's tough. It's such a challenge. It's a fun challenge that I don't think everyone is up for, because at the end of the day, it really takes a certain type of person that can just stay in that world of crazy. I mean, there is something in my mind that just, I'm no Robin Williams, but Robin Williams said once that when he gets on stage, he turns something on, or he allows the floodgates to open, and he almost loses himself, and it just floods out. And while I'm no Robin Williams, don't start quoting me on anything, but I know that feeling of like, there's times in my career when I have definitely been in the zone where this front part turns off, and it's just stuff flows out. And it's like, and I've become known now by some people and jobs and stuff where I'm like the gibberish guy, because for some reason I can just talk into Beavis Sabbath and Rabbit, for my neighbor guy,
Fantastic.
I don't know how it happens.
How many Minions movies have we all loved where it's like this quasi half language, but it's that creativity that you're talking about, being able to not judge it and just let it happen, is not a skill that everybody has, for sure.
Yeah.
And then on this, Dylan Flanders is asking how many voices. You're going to have to follow Scott on Instagram for this.
Yeah.
Scott does so many voices. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, I'd say right now I do a Morgan Freeman that I'm really enjoying. And of course, we have a bit of in the world where we see a leopard on the Serengeti.
And of course, Homer Simpson is someone that I've always been happy to do.
Actually, I got into voice acting because I
Had a Homer Simpson voice that I had been doing a long time.
I'll just do this whole segment as Homer Simpson.
Yes, please.
But a big voice actor friend of mine, when I was wanting to get into voice acting, speaking of when I said I was always kind of, someone led me through something, getting into the voice acting world is probably harder than it is to get into the on-camera world. But I had a friend who's an amazing...
As long as I've known you.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I've been doing that, forever, since I can remember. Yeah. So, I'd always kind of worked on my Homer impression, and a friend of mine who is a voice actor knew I wanted to get into voice acting, called me up and said, "Hey, they're looking for Homer Simpson for these video games. I know you do a good one. Come over to my house. I know you want to get into voice acting. I know the casting lady. I'll record you. I'll submit it. We'll just see what happens." Well, I booked it. I then worked the job. My very first voice acting audition and job
Was voicing Homer Simpson for these these flip phone video games.
and because they didn't have the budget for Dan.
Right.
And then like a week after I booked that job, I got a random call from the agency who represents the real Homer, Dan Castellaneta, and said, "Hey, we heard you booked the Simpsons gig. Would you like to get into voice acting?" And I thought,
Would I ever? Heck yeah.
that's how I got into voice acting. I didn't have to, again, audition for an agency. I didn't have to make a demo and send it to everyone in town. It just happened. I'm so lucky. I don't know. It's just, everyone has their story, and it just kind of, I don't know. People say, Scott, you're a good guy, and good things happen to good people. And I hope that that's true. I hope that everyone,
Good things have happened for you, and you are a good guy.
thanks so much. Yeah.
I mean, look, you and I have known each other through all the years when people are assholes. So, I mean, I feel like when you get perspective on people, you get to know them when you're growing up with them as teens. Scott, do you know what ASMR is?
I don't know. Do I, Emily?
What would you like to discuss?
Fantastic. They would an ASMR channel. An ASMR channel.
Can we
ASMR
both start one together?
Yes. Are you familiar with Corpse Husband?
No.
Internet we're gonna have this conversation
I'd like to
offline.
know
We're
about
gonna have
it.
a Corpse Husband
Right.
conversation offline. He has become viral for his voice.
I'm just
Are
gonna
you
keep
listening
having a
to
drink.
class?
I'm gonna have a drink while you chat.
Just oh, no food noises, but narration noises. I've often joked with this channel, if I'm going to start an OnlyFans, it's going to be just reading like penthouse forms.
You'll probably make a killing.
I
I
mean,
mean, like, I don't know. People
We're
make
just gonna read smut and smutty fan fiction, like Raylo Star Wars smutty fan fiction in the sexy voice, like
Can we
that.
do this together?
We can totally do this
Can
together.
we dress up like our favorite Star Wars characters
Our
and
spouses
just
would be totally on board too because they're cool like that.
oh my goodness.
Here's another question from people who know you because we haven't even talked about this yet. King
Yeah.
Quinn, what was it like working with the cast of that 70s show?
Absolutely the best experience. I mean, I was lucky enough to be in the last episode of the first season. The week that I was there, everyone was, again, I walked onto that set and Topher Grace immediately was like, oh my God, City Guys. And was so
Opening up
because
doors.
he was a no one from where Indiana or wherever he was from. And we, I was there in the very beginning when there weren't, I don't know if egos came out or whatever you always hear stories. Everyone was so nice on that set. They hadn't gotten their little clicks and they were still just happy to be there. They found out that week they got picked up for season 2 and 3. So they said, hey, Scott, come to the rap party. We're having a blowout. And they had cake and everyone was like treating me like I was a regular on the show with them. Topher and I became good friends for a number of years. I was lucky enough to watch Topher's career absolutely take off and sit in the room when I won't share certain things just out of privacy, but when he was like, Scott, they offered me a lead role in my first lead role in a film opposite of huge name actor. And I don't think I'm going to take it. And I was like, what? And it was like, well, I just don't know if that's the right move for my career at this point. And it was, like a dream job in my mind was as these people became more famous and huge, that became, it's like another level. I would sit in these rooms when they would have these like PR meetings of like, how do we expose that these two are going to dinner together? Okay, we'll take them to this restaurant. Well, I mean, like a whole behind the scenes thing of Hollywood that I never saw. But working on that show was an absolute blast. My character, I didn't book it at first. They hired someone else. I was so bummed because I so nailed that job. And it was one of the most fun jobs I've ever. The cast, the crew sang my lines in front of the live audience as they screamed as I did the, oh, you'll pay for this, Foreman, Donna will be mine. It was just and I had the long hair. So when I did the turn, it flipped like Darth Vader's cape and stuff. I loved every second and every line I had on that show. And I was supposed to do 3 episodes. I did the end of the first season. I was supposed to do 2 more coming back to the next season. Unfortunately, I was doing City Guys, and it became a conflict of studios. NBC wouldn't let me out of the City Guys contract to do more that 70s show. And so, it happened. But it was the most fantastic week that led to a great friendship for a number of years with me and Topher. And then stuff just happens. Topher's a great dude. It's not like we had any falling out or anything. It was just he became too busy.
Sometimes you get those connections for a time. And this is another question from Bella Memory. Kristen, if you can answer, what COD characters do you voice?
I don't know. Which game? I've done so many Call of Duty games now.
Voice things.
Yeah, you might hear me. Let me see if I could turn down my preamp here. You might know these lines. Grenade! Get down! We're on your 6! Medic! I need a medic! I'm those guys. That's my voice.
That's exactly what it is, too.
That's probably... Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. No, I think I've worked on, between Call of Duty or Battlefield or those great games. And I love every one of those sessions, although they can be a little hard on when you're screaming full voice and you're sweating and it's 4 hours of that and you don't have a voice afterwards, that gets a little tough, as I mentioned before. But working on all of those games, I'm always, for those games, to answer your question, for most of the time, I'm like Soldier 24, Soldier 25, I get used a lot in video games. Just now, all these years later, I'm now getting these lead roles, which, voicing Crash Bandicoot was amazing, doing these leads on Sims and stuff. But for years and still, I'm janitor number 4. It's like I just the utility
gets paid, which is amazing.
The check clears,
The about being a creative sometimes that I think we don't talk about enough, especially in the YouTube spaces, is sometimes it's not always the sexy stuff that's making money, and it's okay to do all of the different things that make money, and working towards like, hey, it's been years of doing kind of other voices, background voices, yelling grenade that gets you there to opportunities like Crash Bandicoot, which is such a cool opportunity. I get sweaty and hoarse playing Call of Duty. When I was still at the DA's office before kids, I would play Xbox Live with a lot of the cops that I worked with.
Okay.
And I would just get annihilated playing Call of Duty with these guys. And I was like, I couldn't sleep. I was like sweating and anxious, and we had surround sound, and you could hear like bullets flying. I'm like, I can't play this anymore. I can't.
Oh, that's great.
Or you guys, like the SWAT team's killing me with this stuff. So
it's amazing. One of the classic games like Call of Duty and stuff was Counter-Strike, and that's become a huge, through the years. Counter-Strike is a classic, and I got to voice one of those characters back in the day. One of the original video game jobs, and they said you have the choice. You can go to a studio in LA and just they'll patch in, which means like you'll hear them on a telephone line, or you can fly up and meet the producers. They're in Seattle. And I went,
is that a question?
Do I have to pay for that? And they'll fly you and everything. So I flew up to Seattle and I met the team. I worked with them, and still, there's Counter-Strike, which is an old game now by video game standards, but it's still classic. And people still, come up to me and go, "Hey, you're the voice on Counter-Strike. Do the voice." And I don't even remember the lines because it's been so long. But it's probably like, "Bomb has been planted. Bomb is over there." Or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm going to answer this, and then I want to ask you about conventions. We got to Patron. There are a few super chats that I missed, and I want to make sure that we don't miss, particularly anybody coming in for Scott to ask questions. So I'm pulling these up on the back end. From Bedazzled, it was, do you work with Keith Aram for game VO work?
Come on, Keith Aram is a legend. He's a buddy of mine. I love Keith Aram. Yeah, at his studios. Talk about working me. I did one of the Battlefield games with him. He was the first one. I did What's that?
Who is Keith?
Oh, if you don't know, I'm not telling you. Keith is backing up a bit, he's a fantastic musician in his own right, but him and his wife and family, they have an amazing studio. It's like a dream studio to go into just because they're so nice and everything's so good, and they have studio pups, and I love dogs. But sound engineer. So he helps record actors for video games and anime. I know a lot. They have their hands in a lot of stuff. But a production company basically. But every time I go over there, I mean, they're so talented and so great to work with. But and now I'm segueing to something, and we're going to run out of time. But I was one of my first. Early on, I booked a Batman video game, and I booked Battlefield 2. And I was running back and forth between the studios. And the Batman game, I was doing 4 hours of, "Hey, it's Catwoman. Hey, Batsy, I could fight." And then I'd go to the next session where it was just screaming, "Grenade!" Screaming as loud as I can for 3 days in a row. And on day 1, I lost my voice. Day 2, I went into my ENT the next morning and got the steroid shot, which basically gets your voice back up to running speed for the next few hours. Went in, screamed out of that. Next 2 days, went in for another shot on day 3 and went back. I mean, and steroid shots, they after years they can do. I only take steroid when it's desperate and I can't speak. But that was my first experience of vocal stress, yelling too much. My agent even said, maybe you shouldn't take both the gigs. But I was starting. I was like, I could do anything, And I learned.
You learn.
Yeah. But Keith is great. I love the whole family. Yeah. Fantastic.
That's fantastic. So Carrie has said, this dude is so funny. Yes, Scott is so funny. Yes. People enjoy hearing your stories, Scott. Right. It's kind of like we're just getting to sit back in our hometown having a drink. I
know.
Danny Matthews super chatted and said, this is such a great stream. I hope you will come back. I hope so too.
I will come back anytime for you.
Thank you. Alyssa said, as a hockey fan, I love to know who everyone roots for. Scott, are you a Ducks fan or something else? I'm a Minnesota Wild fan. And
okay. I'm a Ducks fan, but I would say historically I'm a Kings fan through and through. And it all just goes back to Gretzky. When I was 10 years old, came down to LA, and I was the first on the block to get rollerblades, and that got me into hockey, knowing that Gretzky
rollerblades.
Remember my roller, and the Generation 1s were like so huge and boots and like, oh my gosh. But yeah, that was I got into hockey because of Gretzky. Came down to LA.
You can't grow up in LA, I don't think, um, being, in your 40s and not have been influenced by Gretzky in your
Oh,
life.
yeah. I got to meet him once too. We got word that I was in my acting class and we got word that Gretzky was at some restaurant. I don't know how this happened. So my mom pulled me out of acting class and said, "Hey, Wayne Gretzky's over in, I don't know, Ventura or something." So we drove out to this restaurant. Sure enough, he was there. I had broken my arm from doing the Indiana Jones thing and breaking my arm. And I went in there and we walked right up to the table, totally a no-no, but we were, he was very nice. He was with two other people and I was like, "Can I get an autograph?" And, "I love your hockey play," and he was like, "Tell me you broke that arm from playing hockey." And I was like, "No, I was swinging from a tree on a whip and I let go and I fell and broke my." He's like, "Oh, okay." But he signed my cast and it was, great experience. It's short experience, but a great, when you meet the heroes and they make you feel good, that's always a great thing. So
Because sometimes meeting your heroes can be a little like, "Ooh, I don't know about that." But
yeah. I met Jack Nicholson at a Lakers game and he kind of shot me a look like, "Get the hell out of my face." And I went up to him and said, "Can I get an autograph?" 11 years old, he was like, "After the game, kid." And then so I went back and he had left. He left 30 minutes before the game ended. So I was like, "Okay, thanks, pal."
Thanks, man.
Not that that's not. Hey,
No,
if you're a celebrity, if you saw that Britney Spears thing, being a celebrity like that,
I
God,
get it.
I don't wish that on anyone.
Which is kind of the best of both worlds with a voice actor. Have you ever turned down a job because it didn't feel right or wasn't your vibe?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's been times when especially as we get older, you learn that no is, they always say no is the most powerful thing you can say in Hollywood, but no it's just the most powerful thing you could say for yourself, And yeah.
Wait, one more for the people in the back. One more for the people in the back. No is the most powerful thing you can say for yourself.
Yeah, that's my TED Talk. It's a little short.
Thank you for coming to Scott's TED Talk, everybody. Have a great time. I'm teasing. I've got to give you some more love from the chat because they've got lots of love.
Yeah. For whatever reason, though, saying no because of either rates or because of just not wanting to be in that position or wanting to spend, working on a film, you're making a big commitment. Maybe you don't want to make that. I don't know if I could do a Marvel film and train for 8 months to become some jacked dude.
I don't know. I'd be Hawkeye all day long. I'm like, "Hey, you're gonna take me out. And my son and I have started doing competitive archery. I love it. But I get to train doing all this stuff. You're gonna feed me. You're gonna tell me I'm great. You're gonna have a hair and makeup. But I imagine that is only cool for so long because it's also away from family. It's a lot of work. It's long days. It seems very cool from the outside being like, "Wait, you just control my life and tell me what to do." I'm in. I love it.
There's so much great about it, but when you look, especially like these training, because it's like, I'd like to be a superhero. Well, that requires all that physical stuff. And you watch any of these videos on YouTube of like, any of these actors, what it's like to, and they all say the same thing. It's miserable. You eat cod every day. It's the worst thing. You're always so full feeling and you just feel like throwing up. And I don't want to do that for 8 months to end up looking like, hey. I don't know. So,
this is feedback from what I asked earlier. Scott, we love it. Please do this, Scott.
Oh,
Scott,
gosh.
you are the content we want.
Wow.
Do it. It would be awesome. Do them all the dreams. So this is the beauty of YouTube is the instant feedback in the chat.
This really means so. Like you don't even like. I feel like I could easily get teary. Could be the Patron.
You're a good actor.
It could be no. I'm not that good. I'm the guy who's like, "Can you blow the crystals in my eyes?" They got these, ethanol. I don't even know what it is. Can you blow that? And then it makes you just water. Yeah. Wow, that's so nice.
Reunion, totally in. I'd love to hear Scott talking to all his buds or just opinions on the world.
Oh,
this is awesome. Be you because you're awesome.
This is so nice.
Like, no, we have to do this. I love it. This is, and then a lot of quacks.
Maybe you and I can team up and we can figure out something, or we can, we could bring something to them.
We'll talk. We will.
Okay, great, yeah.
Because this is fantastic, and it's,
that means so. Thank you guys. So, like, it really does seem it's getting to me, and it's not the drinking.
No,
it's so nice. Thank you.
Once again, the beauty of the feedback on YouTube is just something else. Oh my God, you're still alive. Yes. Yes, we are. Yes,
oh my God. Yeah, we're still going. Oh my gosh.
2 super chats. I'm going to make sure I catch them up. And then we have to get to court of public opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Scott, do you work with Jason Charles Miller ever? He's a friend of mine.
Jason Charles, is that a voice actor? Jason
Plastic
Charles.
Noise, let us know if that's a voice actor. The mods will put it in the chat for me. Give us a little more context.
American singer, songwriter, voice actor, and host. I don't think I'm just looking at pictures. I don't think
because we have Google. We have the internet.
Yeah, we got the internets. I don't think we've crossed paths. But as a voice actor, especially with everything going on, this is the most. My dog sitting back here that's my buddy, and that's all I see. I don't go into studios. No one has seen each other for a year, and wow, yeah. Wow, I'm looking at this comment.
This is, I mean, once again, the power of YouTube. But yes, Scott will be at Law Nerd Con. Do you like going to conventions? Are conventions a lot of fun?
Forget it. Yes. I go to conventions incognito. Like, I'm usually in a costume. Like 2 years ago, I go to this LA Comic-Con every year. It's run by we do a panel, this voice acting panel with my good friend Kiff.
One down in San Diego as well, or just the one up at the LA convention?
This is the one at the LA, the Stan Lee's LA Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. The ultimate is kind of the San Diego one. And I've been there and I've been drunk, but my whole thing was, and I've been there and I've been drunk. That's awkward. But I was drunk and I was there. But I did say to myself, I'm only going back there if I'm going there for work, at some point, because it's such chaos just to find parking and hotels and you have to, it's too much. So it's too crowded. But LA, I go around 2 years ago. I had a full Jason costume, Friday the 13th, full circle, horror film. And I just walked around the whole day. I didn't say anything. Even I went with my buddy Steve and my other voice friend, Eric Lopez. And I just walked around the whole day and didn't say a word. And just people walking by going, oh my God. Like, I am so about cosplay and costumes and doing all that. I have a full Kylo Ren costume because actually last year I wanted to get involved with like St. Jude's stuff and the Star Wars, the cosplayers that the 100, I can't even think of the group, but I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed.
No, don't be embarrassed.
But I wanted to go to children's hospitals and do that sort of thing. I was like, it's time. Like, I've always wanted to. Yeah. And then COVID hit, but I have a full Kylo Ren costume. Yeah. And then I thought, what would I do at this point? So I had the costume. I would hop on Instagram Live and I would just start harassing people in my Kylo Ren costume and say, like, join the dark side. Like,
that's for OnlyFans. That's Scott's OnlyFans.
That's my OnlyFans. Yeah.
That's doing
Kylo Ren costume, no shirt, and I just harass people. It'll be amazing.
It'll be amazing.
How could it go wrong?
It'll be very, very fun.
So awkward.
By the way, not sure anyone played LOL, but I'm uncredited VO in Silent Hill Shatter Memories. Call the CS line for help if you dare. That's
cool.
Amazing, Bedazzled.
Congratulations. Cool. That's so neat. Yeah.
Bedazzled is the one that asked about Keith Aram.
Oh, great. Oh, that's really great. Yeah. Hey, congratulations on your success. Yeah. I'm going to try to hopefully later on this year or something, I'm going to try to coaching and helping other actors because I came from nothing. I don't have parents that were actors that opened a door or whatever. So my whole thing, I'm all for people wanting to get into voice acting, wanting to get into acting. And I feel now's the time when I think I should be utilizing, I should share my knowledge. I have enough years behind me and enough knowledge that maybe there's 2 cents worth that would be worth listening to. And so my goal this year, I want to just start giving back in that respect. Like, like the St. Jude's with kids. It's like, I want to give more than I want to receive at this point because I kind of am lucky that I'm on this path and I'm getting this love and immediately I want to turn it around, The voice acting world is very nice. I'm going to give one shout out to my friend Darren DePaul, who's an amazing voice actor who I walked in to this job not knowing what I was voicing. And the team said, hey, you're going to voice. This is a very special project. I still can't, even though it's out, I can't talk about it. They said it's a very special project and I'll tell you offline and you'll go, what the what?
Those NDAs are powerful.
And they're saying you're going to voice match these 2 iconic characters, probably some of the most iconic sci-fi characters you can imagine if you start letting your mind wander. And they said, you know why you're here? And I said, no, why? And they said, we gave the role to Darren. And Darren said, no, Scott is the only one I can think of that does these voices. And so they gave me the job. And it's things like that then have reset me and have trained me to, my thing is pay it forward. Like there's not even more, I get more joy sometimes out of going, hey, hire this guy for the job. And then they get the call than when I get the call for certain jobs, because man, there's power in like loving you and getting the love and receiving it. there's more power in sharing that love and letting the other person have their opportunity to shine also, and to set up, like my friend Robin, who got me I'm forever indebted for Robin. He got me my voice acting career in that respect. He gave me the opportunity. He didn't have to call me and do this, but he did. And it led to where I am now. I'm talking to you. I have these successes, this history, and it's because of him. It's because when you give, you also get.
You absolutely do. And I think that is amazing. We're going to have to get into, I just wanted to give you the nerdy love as a lifelong hockey fan, Flyers, and Sims 1 through 4 player. I'm in nerd heaven. It's like my Sims game is talking to me.
Zabakorbahe. This is fantastic. I wish I had something that I could show you guys at this moment. I'm going to show you, and it's nothing new, but this is kind of like what we get to see. So these are, you won't even be able to see these, but we have these words that are like these Sims words that we pull from. So when we create these sentences, if I were to say, hey, you first think in your mind like, hey, Emily, why don't we go out and see the movie? Let's go see a movie tonight let's go see a movie tonight or whatever. So you have to create those thoughts and put them by using these words, and you grab any of these words. So, hey, Belindy, osa hey smash a prompt lunch chilahu. Or Sippy Wom. Hubby Dash Roses.
Sippy Wombat. I thought that was where we were going with that.
Well, there are words when we're recording, we're like, did you just say, did you just accidentally put the F word in there? Like, when you're speaking nonsense, sometimes things will come out. You just go, yeah, I think I did just say Hanukkah in the middle of that sentence. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's so fun. Never a dull moment with The Sims.
Nali said Scott should do a masterclass. I believe that's going to be coming from Scott.
Yeah. So, I'm in the works of something, not the branded masterclass.
No,
in fact, Nancy Cartwright just came out with a great masterclass on voice acting through the official masterclass thing. I do have something I'm in the works of creating.
Which is fantastic. You guys, we have been talking for over 2 hours. I think the mods, it's just a chill stream tonight. And I think the mods are just enraptured with getting to talk to Scott. But we haven't done Court of Public Opinion
Let's move on.
Guys, it's time. We will have Scott back. We will ask more questions. We will have more creator chat. But we've got to get to Court of Public Opinion. It's time. It's time. More Patron. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
We're ready to go. So this week, Law Nerds, for Court of Public Opinion, we missed Court of Public Opinion last week because I was out of town last week. But this week, because we have Scott, we are stepping into the world of acting. We are not doing food this week, y'all. I know. But first, people are just like, keep Scott. We're kidnapping Scott now.
That's fine.
Kidnapping Scott. He is stuck with
Call the cops! Call them! She won't let me out!
I'm being held. Grenade!
Grenade! Sorry, Andy. My dog's like, what are you doing, dude? I'm sleeping.
Andy's like, chill, man.
He's so chill. He just sleeps.
Okay. At this point. So what we are talking about, Law Nerds, I know it's going to be controversial. It's deep controversy on the interwebs. Who is the best Batman? Here are our options. And Scott can probably voice them all. We're just going to give him a second. Adam West, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, or Lego, voiced by Will Arnett. You cannot talk about who's the best Batman without talking about Lego Batman.
Oh, come on. Oh, I won't say anything.
You have to say something.
I need to talk about all of it.
Talk about Batman suits because nipple suits kind of make it hard.
Let's just start with nipple suits and move from there.
We can start with the nipples and move from there.
Look, George Clooney nipple suit Batman was awesome in such a weird abstract way, but that whole film, with Mr. Freeze and everyone, I mean,
it was iconic for the 90s.
Yeah.
It was colorful. It was, but the nipples.
Nipples. I mean, I don't know who made that command decision. I do, and it's haunted George Clooney forever. And I just recently saw an interview where he said, like, I made like $1 million doing this. And then here's Arnold Schwarzenegger made 10 million. He's the star. And I was just beginning my career. I had no say on the nipple suit. And and he's like, and I never even got to work with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He came in, did his thing, collected his 10 million. We were never in the same room facing each other,
Wild.
It's the drama behind that actual film, and then hearing how like the beef between Tommy Lee Jones and George Clooney.
I didn't know that either.
I mean, Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey, because Tommy Lee Jones had like the #1 film and whatever, and then Jim Carrey's movie came out and blew Tommy Lee Jones's last film out of the water, and Tommy Lee Jones, I guess, was upset about this. So very interesting stuff I've read, and maybe all theories. Nothing is set in stone. This is just what I've read or what I think or whatever. So, but very interesting discussion. Going back to Adam West and his amazing Batman, I absolutely am in love with him. But
Salem Smith said Robert Pattinson. I refuse to put him on the list. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll be nice and reserve the, I'll wait till I see it. And some of the,
he can't be on the list yet.
Yeah, you can't add him. Yeah. You can't say that yet.
He's
you can't.
We can't put him on the list yet. We haven't seen it.
Pending.
So maybe we like Robert Pattinson. The chat is blowing up. So Scott, you're going with Adam West.
All in all, I'm going to say Michael Keaton. I have to. Come on. I mean, it was Adam West's classic cartoon comic book come to life. When that happened, Batman, and you knew me back when. I mean, I was a Batman fanatic. I had to buy the mask and everything, and I
very much
my
wanted
lips.
a Batman logo tramp stamp in college. Yep. I am a big Batman fan. I got talked out of it and I got waves instead because I was playing water polo, but I wanted a Batman logo tramp stamp. I did. That was me. Look, I'm basic, folks. But I also love Batman. I met Michael Keaton when I was working at Sports Chalet in Marina Del Rey because he came in. The best part of working at Sports Chalet in Marina Del Rey was the amount of actors that came in to pick stuff up. And then we got to meet all kinds of different costuming directors because they would come in to pick up all kinds of different stuff for costuming. And we had a pretty friendly return policy for the studios. And so they would come in and be like, okay, I'm going to need that shoe in every single size you have it in. I'm going to need this in these different sizes. Wow. They would call ahead and get bulk orders. But we had Julia Louis-Dreyfus would come in every year and get all the ski clothes for like her and her family and her kids. And it just that location of Sports Chalet was just like the randomest hop-in place for celebrities. And it was too funny. And I loved it. I was like,
what an experience. I mean, like, I'm so giddy just meeting any celebrity. In fact, I'm so random. I would write true story. I wrote a guy on Facebook. Remember the shaking the cow video? Like, for Carl's Jr. it was like, shake that thing. He's become a great comedian, but I wrote him back in the day. I was like, dude, I just wanted to say, I am such a fan. You were so rad in that Carl's Jr. commercial. You're my biggest hero. And he wrote back, and it was the same as if Tom Cruise had written me going, hey, thanks for reaching out, man. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Craig, what's his name? Comedian, amazing, and such a nice guy too. But yeah, wow, that's so cool. Yeah, just to meet people. Yeah, Keaton.
It's fun. It's fun. We've got lots and lots of Keatons. Lego. I love Lego. I fucking love Lego Batman.
Lego. I just recently saw that movie like last year, and I fell in love immediately. It was so cleverly written. Batman, the voice, Will Arnett's, everything is like,
He was perfect for that voice. And because I have a teenager now, we reference the song like Darkness. Oh, parent. Like when my kid, I'm like looking at him, I'm like, what's wrong with you? He's like, Darkness. No parents. And I'm like, all right.
Absolutely awesome. Yeah. Lego Batman, they each have their own, each have their own thing. Christian Bale brought the real darkness to Batman, Ben Affleck is,
I can't with Affleck as Batman. I'm sorry, I can't.
I'm gonna agree with you there.
No shade to Ben Affleck. It could have been the script. Look,
and Ben Affleck, he did a great job. But we're talking about the history of Batman, and it's also when you're Batman number 7 or whatever. It's like, it's hard to reinvent the wheel, or it's hard to get all these people to turn their backs on the originals, or whatever. So,
and the hard thing for me with this is that I have a hard time distinguishing the performance from the movies So it's like, Clooney kind of loses it for me because I don't love his movies as much as the Bale movies. It's
Yeah.
where Affleck loses it for me.
Totally.
Michael Keaton was like kind of the first, but Adam West was like the OG. And I actually, OG Catwoman and I actually got to know each other because when
What?
Yep.
The hot
Through-
Catwoman?
OG.
Wow, the OG Catwoman. Wow,
Through-
she was amazing.
She's
was
amazing.
just, I mean, talk about like just who she was, and then
Generous,
yeah,
kind. She's
Ah,
incredible. Yeah.
wow, that's so rad.
But also working at Airport Courthouse, we had celebrities. Like we had celebrities come in as both victims of shit and as defendants, like Lindsay Lohan and Coolio and whatever. So working in the criminal court system in LA, you also bump up against celebrity. And we talked about it on stream a few nights ago about the bling ring. I think it was on Up and Adam's Chatham. I was talking about the bling ring, and I had a friend who prosecuted that, about the kids that were running and stealing stuff from Paris Hilton while she was traveling. And it's just really interesting when you live in LA how much celebrity kind of bumps up against the stuff
Sure.
that you
Yeah.
do, because they're all there too. And now it's really spreading out with internet influencers, and the influencers are fleeing Los Angeles.
Yeah. Oh man, how many? It was like I read some article. It was like 168,000 people left California last year alone.
And all of them made a YouTube video about it called "Leaving California."
California.
Or
Yeah.
why
Smash
I'm
the like
leaving
button.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Okay, I got the ultimate decision, and here's why. Because Batman, and we're gonna get a little deep. This could be a little nerdy comic book. Batman is only as good as his arch nemesis, right? In that theory, because they fed off of each other for whatever reason. And you just think of the classic Joker and Batman. Okay, so now we're to the epitome of. I mean, got Mr. Freeze, you got the Penguin. They're classics, but it's always comes back to like Batman, Joker, right? So then you have Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Come on, the two of them, because it was Nicholson being as Nicholson as he is, and Keaton being as great as he is. And then I would say second best, you would think Christian Bale and Joker, Heath Ledger, because that was such a different version. And the two of them brought the best out of each other. So those are my Keaton, and only historically, because I was 10 years old and Batman just burned into my memory. Yep. And speaking how you wanted the tattoo, I wanted to put a Batman sticker on the back of my ice hockey helmet, but my coach told me not to do it because he said it would probably be a target and people want to slap shot you in the back of the head. And so I didn't do it out of fear, but I wanted, because I had a black helmet, and I wanted that so bad to
I get it.
To be the Batman of ice hockey.
We've definitely got some Kevin Conroy fans. All right, y'all. I'm adding Kevin Conroy I'll add him to the poll. Add him to the poll. Deeply nerdy, I will add him to the poll. We're adding him to the poll for social media.
Conroy. Okay. You got Kevin
it. Conroy. He voiced Batman in the 90s. We got it. It.
Oh yeah. I mean, like if there was a voice for Batman, yeah, him and Keaton, Keaton just invented that whole like, what are you? I'm Batman.
I got 3 super chats because I forgot Kevin Conroy. Y'all, I'm sorry. My apologies, Myra, Bedazzled, and Meriden. We're adding him to the poll. I got it.
Fantastic. Put him in there.
I love it. I love that people are like, do not forget the voice actor love, because these polls go up on Twitter. And then on Tuesday, we rule on who wins the court of public opinion. But I love the way you approach the problem is, look, it's got to be a duo. Batman's a duo. And these are the best duos. And those were absolutely the best duos.
If you're a Batman nerd, there's another Batman I'm going to throw in. His name is Kevin Porter. He's a friend of mine. But if you go on YouTube, Bat in the Sun Productions makes these great fan film fighting things. And there's this video in particular that stands out. It's Batman versus Darth Vader. And it's like, what if those two met? Amazing shot, amazing, it's like the best Batman film you can watch, right? And Kevin Porter in the fan film world is like a god in that respect. So a lot of these super nerds will even say, forget all those Batmans. Kevin Porter is the real Batman, So I just have to also add his name, because most of you won't even know maybe who he is. But if you look up those films like Batman versus Darth Vader, they're amazing pieces of cinematography and action and fighting. And it's, you just want to see Batman be badass, and he's always badass. And they're making a new one that's releasing soon. It's him, Michael. Why am I forgetting about this? Michael. And I did a movie with him. I did a poker movie called All In. It was with him. Michael Madsen is starring in it also. So they're getting these huge actors now that are in these fan films even, which is a whole other discussion we could have some other time. But yeah, anyway, so I'm just throwing that in there too.
I love that. I love that.
Super nerd, you get even deeper than just the.
Well, yes, and this is the place for super nerdum. Me with my freaking TARDISes and Pokemon in the background, which is what I love about being on this channel, is because I do talk law shit, but I also get deeply nerdy. Scott, you and I will talk offline about Corpse Husband, because Scott's like, corpse who? But yes, but everybody would simp and die if Corpse Husband voiced Batman. So we will save that for another day.
Great.
The mods are like, we're still talking. Yes, Kevin Conroy with Mark Hamill as Joker, followed by Bale and Ledger.
Oh yeah,
Nicholson.
Mark Hamill. I mean, come on, man. I mean, like the Luke Skywalker, but
Mark Hamill is one of my favorite celebrities to follow on social media.
I'll tell you a Mark Hamill thing. If you meet Mark Hamill, and I got to meet him once. I've only met him once so far in my career, because he's become a big voice actor guy. So I'm expecting to work with him more. But I worked with him on a Garfield cartoon. That is the greatest
sentence ever. I worked with Mark Hamill on a Garfield cartoon.
Yeah, and we were both going in for singing sessions. So I've tricked the industry and everyone to think I can actually sing, which is hilarious.
I've heard you sing. You can sing.
I can hold a tune.
You can sing at the Shark's Cove. It's fine. Everybody.
So I was going in and I was after Mark Hamill, and I didn't know it was Mark. So Mark comes out of the room sweating. He's like, "Oh God, it really worked me. You must be Scott. You're the real singer here." And I'm like, "Real singer? I don't know about that," And then he was waiting to leave or sign out or something, and we got 20 minutes to sit there. And all I knew about Mark was like, don't be the super fan to talk about Star Wars, anything but Star Wars. And he's a huge Beatles fan, so you could talk about the Beatles or what. Well, I chose to just praise him, as I love to do, because and I said, "Man, I just want to say," and I'm such a big fan. And of course, he's going, here comes the Luke Skywalker, and I'm like, the Joker was, I mean, the way you created that character and the voice and everything, and and it just opened up this amazingly just nice conversation where it was just like, I felt like I was talking to my friend. And now I've heard from everyone just that how nice he is, how warm he is. You see his videos on Instagram or whatever, and he just comes, who he is just who he is. He's so nice and real and down to earth, and fantastic experience, and one of the best Jokers for sure, up there, for its own reason. Every interpretation is great for its own reason,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Scott, we're going to have you back. It has been a very chill night, a very good night, but we've been on for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I know that you still have like work. Life,
I do actually.
And I want to, well, we've already blown way past time, but I appreciate all the mods for being here. You guys do the YouTube-y things. Go follow Scott. I know that you want to keep up with what he's got coming out. He shares most of that stuff on the Instagram, but we'll be here on the YouTubes too, and we're going to have him back here on the YouTubes to talk more about kind of what it's like to be a creator and just have more awesome chats. Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much,
Emily. It wouldn't have been as great if it was with anyone else. I mean, our history, you're just such a great person. You're so wonderful how you control everything in your world, and you just make it so pleasant to be here. And it really is, it's great. I feel like 210, we're 11, 12 years old, hanging out again, but now we're adults, and that's awkward. And our parents are watching us.
We get to chat, and we get to drink and use cursey words. It's fine. And nobody's mom has to drive us home. It's fantastic.
Fuck yeah.
Now it's like, hey mom, can you drop me off at my class reunion so I can Uber back? I don't want to drive.
And I don't have $8 to drive there. No. So just you drive me there. And
you think I joke, but literally my mom drove us to our last class reunion.
Did you?
They live right around it was right up the corner.
This has been such a best Friday night I've had in a long time. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you all so much. And man, thanks for the comments. Oh man, I'm just in love with everyone. This is so wonderful. Thank you.
They love Scott. So much love. The Law Nerds are fantastic. And I know your community's here too. So thank you guys that came to see Scott and get to see him in a different way. I think you're going to get a lot of requests for more of you sharing your stories and sharing what you've learned. I mean, a takeaway for creators is it's 400 auditions, it's 800 auditions, but then it's Mighty Ducks, then it's getting to be Crash Bandicoot, then it's, if you love doing what you're doing, auditions are always a chance to keep perfecting what you're doing and keep moving towards the next thing. And that lesson is so important to hear from someone as successful as you. And I appreciate you for sharing it.
The tooth takeaways are just keep doing what you're doing to get where keep doing what you love to get where you're going. And just know it takes time for anything. You have to put in those 10,000 hours. And sometimes 10,000 hours is 2 hours and one lucky audition for someone. And it could be 40,000 hours for another person. I'm probably more of the 40,000 hour, but that's fine. I'm the slow burn. And hopefully that leads me to have a long career in the long run. I'm here to stay.
You've already had a long career. No one's getting rid of you. You're like, we'll do voice, we'll do this.
I know. I just want to go to sleep, Emily. I'm so tired these days.
We're fucking old, Scott.
I know. Take your ginkgo biloba. That's actually why I'm here, just to make sure you're taking your pills. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to throw it out and then you and I get to chat. Thank you, everybody,
Great.
for being here. Thank you, Law Nerds. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just text Emily.com. If you want to join the channel, lawnerdsunite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube